It shouldn't be next January.
Exactly. So bundle your renters and auto and save with Progressive and protect the things that make sense to you. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates and other insurers not available in all states or situations. Covered subject to policy terms and conditions.
We all hear the radio ads about the IRS. They tell you to be afraid, to be scared, and they try to frighten you into calling. I'm not here to do that. Tax Relief Advocates is different. TRA is here to tell you that if you owe money to the IRS, whether it's $5,000, $50,000, or $500,000, we have a solution. It doesn't matter if you're sitting in your car, at work, or with your kids. No matter where you are, call now. 800-575-6759. Don't lose hope. TRA can eliminate or reduce what you owe to the IRS. Generous programs are now available that can give you a fresh start. Our passion is taxes and helping individuals fix their IRS problems. We have over 1,000 5-star reviews on Google and an A+ with the Better Business Bureau. You don't need to be afraid of the IRS any longer. End your tax nightmare today by visiting us online at TRA.com or call 800-575-6759. That's 800-575-6759. Tax Relief Advocates. Real solutions for real people.
G. Scott here with former Seahawks Cliff Averill and Doug Baldwin. I heard you guys are having a celebrity pickleball tournament to raise money for Nourishing Champions. Why pickleball?
Obviously, it's a growing sport, but also this model is that we will actually be playing with community.
We are the most competitive people, so regardless of how sorry Doug might be, he will be out there competing like it's a Super Bowl.
Sign up for the Celebrity Pickleball Tournament, open to all skill levels. For details, go to championsofchangefoundation.org/pickleball.
Headed outdoors or on the water this weekend? Check in with Joey and Nellie on the Outdoor Line from 6 to 8 a.m. every Saturday on seattlesports.com.
Dave Wyman here with an incredibly special guest, the mayor of the city of Lacey, Andy Ryder. Andy's a proud Seattle sports listener and recently underwent successful treatment for prostate cancer. His treatment method? Swedish CyberKnife. Andy, tell us about your treatment.
The entire treatment was just 5 days, less than an hour a day. I spent more time commuting to the appointment than actually being in treatment.
Any side effects during or after?
I've had very few side effects. I've been very lucky to not have some of the side effects that I was worried about with other treatments.
What would you say to anyone considering prostate cancer treatment?
I'm feeling very confident about my treatment with CyberKnife, and I absolutely recommend it for anyone who has been diagnosed with prostate cancer.
Thank you, Andy, and congratulations. Reach out to Swedish CyberKnife directly. You don't even need a referral. Go to swedish.org/CyberKnife prostate. Treat prostate cancer with Swedish CyberKnife.
The JP with a flip, and they got him at first base! How in the world? Visit Mariners.com/fireworks to get your tickets and see the complete lineup of all 6 Mariners fireworks nights this summer, including a sing-along show on June 13th and a patriotic palooza on July 3rd. Plus, check out everything else on deck at T-Mobile Park, like 3 straight Mariners value games against the Orioles starting Tuesday, June 3rd. Mariners baseball. Try dance up.
Brock and Salk's Rewind is presented by Toyota of Kirkland and Toyota of Renton.
From the Quantum Fiber Studio, you're listening to Brock and Salk.
Weekdays 6 to 10.
On Seattle Sports and 97.3 FM HD2.
Well, I think the moment he said son of a buck, we all became fans of Kevin Seitzer in spring training and been waiting to have him back on. And we were going to do it a week or two ago, and then he got sick. And so finally today, joining us from Houston right now, Mariners hitting coach Kevin Seitzer. Good morning, Coach. How are you?
Good. How are you?
We're doing great. It's fun. It's been fun watching the team. It's been fun watching them hit. Obviously, it must be pretty fun beginning to your Mariner tenure as well, huh?
Yeah. It's been great. Couldn't be more proud of the guys, the at-bats they've been putting together, and it's just winning's fun. That's all I can say.
So I ask around about you because I do a little homework, not a lot, but a little bit of homework before an interview like this. And everyone I ask about you uses the same word, simple. And they're referring to the approach, just how you keep it simple. So I guess my question would be, what does that mean? How simple do you keep it for the players?
Well, I mean, it's kind of me having exactly the same belief that Edgar does and what he instilled in these guys last year when he came on board and took over. And it was get on the fastball. Don't be in between. Don't try and figure out pitches and location and thinking about mechanics to be able to get your good swing off, and just get on the fastball and hit it back through the middle of the field. That's how simple we want to keep it. It's like we work on all the other stuff when we're in the cage and cleaning up swings and, you know, making sure the mindset's right and they're freed up to where they can do their thing. But once you get your toehold in that batter's box, get on the heater and hit it back through the middle. And if you got a gut feeling that you're going to get a slider or curveball or changeup, and by all means, feel free to sit on it and just don't try and do too much with it. So it's, you know, that's about as simple as we keep it. And with 2 strikes, grind and fight your butt off in the middle of the field and try not to let that pitcher come up for air.
All right, so makes sense, right? Get on the fastball. But when are you going to see a fastball? I would think, you know, they have so much analytical data that gets filtered in from, you know, that portion of the front office that eventually makes its way to you. Do you have to simplify the information you get in order to distribute that to the players? How does that process work?
Yeah, so we get the, you know, all the information and, you know, kind of the overview broad spectrum is this is how he pitches to lefties. This is how he pitches to righties. These are the percentage of pitches that he uses, and we break it down before 2 strikes and then with 2 strikes, how much he's in zone with each pitch, and before 2 strikes and with 2 strikes. And then we also have a heat map as to where he throws location wise before 2 strikes, with 2 strikes. And so we have access to all this information, and, you know, he may be 30% fastball and 70% off speed pitches, but, you know, three out of 10 are going to be fastballs. So you still have to be ready for the fastball because you can adjust to the other stuff. You can throttle down and wait easier than you can catch up if you're geared up for the 70%. Let's put it that way. So, you know, that's why you just have to stay on the heater unless your gut tells you that you're going to get something soft. And that's how simple we want to keep it. It's like, okay, these are the higher percentage pitches they use. If I'm a right-handed hitter and he's fastball, slider, and then an occasional curve and a rare changeup, I'm not going to really be concerned about the curve and the changeup. I'm going to be ready for, you know, the slider and be ready to wait on that because I could get it at any time. But at the same time, I'm not going to be shocked if I do see a curve or a rare changeup. And we have that happen to us often. Last night, King against Cal in a you know, a blowout game, Cal's up there fighting, and we didn't have King for a changeup, but in our notes it said King has thrown 1 changeup to a right-handed hitter all season, which I mentioned to him in the meeting, and Cal got a changeup in the middle of that at bat. The second one all season. He may have thrown, you know, 100 pitches to right-handed hitters this year, and Cal got the second changeup. Congratulations.
Yes,
and I told him that.
Is that how you tip your cap in those moments?
Yeah, it's like I told him that, and he goes, "Yeah, it's baseball." I said, "Yeah, and they make stuff up when they're scared of you. Way to go, Cal."
Well, I don't blame them for being scared either. I mean, what Cal's done this year is incredible. I was going to ask you, and I don't even know whether it's fair to ask, kind of this group of guys you've been working with this year, who are you most proud of? And I know that's sort of like, you know, which kid do you love the best?
Yeah.
But, you know, maybe pick out a couple. Who's really kind of taken to this system and really run with it?
Yeah, I mean, I would probably put Chow at the top of the list, but, I mean, everybody else is right there, too. It's like these guys are bought in, and I go back to kudos to Edgar for setting the tone last year, and they were bought in last year. There was success that happened from it, and so it's been a really, really fun group. It's been a great process, and relationships that I've been able to establish with these guys so quickly, and I feel like there's trust and there's buy-in, and again, nobody wants this stuff to be complicated and hard. There's not one hitter who wants to be up there with too much going on in his head. They want to keep it simple, and so that's the drum we keep beating.
All right, so three guys then that jump out to me just because, we've watched them for the last either year or more, and what we're seeing this year has been really impressive. Polanco, Dylan Moore, and J.P. Crawford. Maybe you could just talk through those three guys with me. I know you mentioned a couple of them to us in spring training when we asked you who you were excited to work with, but what sorts of things have helped those three guys?
It's hard for me to. You'd have to ask Edgar this one in order to get a before and after opinion, because all I've got is now. And they worked hard. It's been really fun to watch basically the light switch flip when the season started, because in spring training, Polo was trying to come back from. He was just trying to get ready from the surgery and make sure that he was healthy. And JP and Dylan were scuffling, during spring training, getting ready for the season. The timing aspect, there was a lot of things that were like, okay. Everybody's doing the best they can to get ready for when the bell rings. But, I was so. JP got off to a little bit of a slow start, and then once he got it going, it was like, holy cow. These at-bats are just ridiculous every night, every single at-bat, and drawing his walks and getting his hits and using the whole field, and Demo doing the same thing. And, it's like it's staying in the middle of the field like I guess he's never done in the past so much as what he has this year, based on what I'm hearing from the coaches. And then, the home runs have been there as well. And then Polo is just, the first month of the season was as hot as any hitter I've ever seen in my whole life. And, he's cooled off a little bit, but it's just the three of them. It's just been incredible. I'm just, I don't want to say that I'm more proud of anybody than anybody else, just because I'm proud of them all.
All right, we're talking to Kevin Seitzer, Mariner hitting coach, who's just done a heck of a job so far this year with this group. Who's next? Who is if you got to throw money on the next? I know you can't do that. Forget it. I didn't say anything about betting. Let's forget that. No, if you had to guess, who is the next kind of guy to break out and go on a hot streak? Who are you seeing some of the underlying signs that they're getting ready to break out?
Randy. I feel like, and I'm going to say that's a big statement, but he worked yesterday. He came out for early hitting, and he hit so much on the field off the machine, and it was as good as I've seen him look. Then he took BP after. It was the best BP I've seen him take probably since spring training. Then the at-bats he put together last night is like, okay, we need this to start happening every night, and we need to keep it going every night. So I'm hopeful. It's sometimes he can start thinking a little bit too much in the box and trying to calculate, that we want to keep it simple for everybody, but he tends to go analytical with, guessing which pitches are going to come and if they're going to be balls or strikes. And that's why you'll see the auto take sometime when he's banking on a ball, basically. So Anyway, I love the at-bats last night. I love the work yesterday. That's what I'm gonna put my money on, Randy.
Well, that sounds cool. I got to ask you then, and I will admit I was hoping you were going to say Julio. I know he's out last night and kind of day-to-day now with some back issues, but how is Julio developing? It's interesting from our side. I mean, he still hasn't hit that great Julio hot streak.
No.
And yet the walk rate's higher, the home runs have been more than we've seen at times in the past. Strikeouts down a little bit. What's the day-to-day like with Julio?
It's been good. I mean, again, he's bought into his approach and staying in the middle of the field, done a great job. It's just from a mechanical standpoint, there's some adjustments that we're trying to get him to make, to lock in, to be a little more consistent, basically, with his swing, his timing, some of the rhythm things that he has going, and what the bat's doing when he gets his separation, getting ready to fire. It's been a little bit inconsistent as far as the position that it's getting in, and so anyway, it's just trying to make some mechanical changes, just tweaks. We're not talking big adjustments. I mean, this kid's super uber talented, and he's gonna, when he gets going, when things get synced up, it's gonna take off.
One thing that's interesting about listening to you talk about the approach and staying up the middle and keeping it simple is, I guess if you were to ask me, hey, what will that lead to? I would think a lot of singles, a lot of doubles, maybe not as many home runs and not as many walks, and yet it feels like the biggest component of the offensive success. You guys are top 2 or 3 in walks, top 4 or 5 in home runs this year. How does that approach end up generating so many walks and home runs?
Well, this is the biggest thing. The more you are consistently locked in on trying to hit the ball middle of the field to the opposite field, the better you see the ball. You see spin better. You see change-ups better. You have better timing for the fastball. You'll have a better swing path to where you stay short and inside the ball. And the big component of having that approach is making sure these guys are super aggressive for the fastball in a certain spot where we have them hunting based on what the movement is for the pitcher. And so when those things all line up, you see the ball better, therefore you chase less and you make better decisions, find yourself in better counts. Now, being super aggressive, if you are just a little early on that fastball, you end up catching it out front and pulling it, and you hit for power that way. If you catch it just a little bit deep, being super aggressive, then you hit it to the opposite field with more power. And because you see the ball better and have better recognition and you see off-speed pitches better, you have a better ability to wait and be in good position, and therefore those pitches get barreled up more consistently, and most often it's to the pull side because they're slower and you're a little bit earlier with your point of contact. So all that being said leads to higher walks and more power because you're putting the barrel of the bat on the ball more consistently.
Works for me. Whatever it is, it's certainly it's working for those guys. And the simplicity, all of it. We got a lot of great text messages coming in while we're talking saying, hey, please just thank Kevin from the fans. It's just delightful to hear this and to hear how the simple, effective coaching has really worked. So we're having fun getting to watch it. The weather hasn't even really turned here. Wait till it gets nice here in Seattle and you don't have to deal with the lousy weather and stuff. It gets even more fun and easier to hit. So thank you, man.
Well,
we appreciate
I'll tell
this.
You, I have enjoyed it. I mean, I don't like cold. I don't like rain, but this is having a roof and, we have hoodies and jackets and things like that. I mean, I've been I've been super comfortable. And again, it goes back to when you win, it's more fun.
Yeah.
So that'll keep you warm.
Yeah, that rain delay in Chicago, that's not fun when you lose and it's windy and cold and nasty.
Goodness.
It's totally fine when you win, right?
Yeah, that was brutal. Oh, my goodness. I was so glad to get out of Chicago. That was awful.
Oh, man.
I mean, that's why you need a roof right there.
Well, it also helps to have a few people in the stands as well to kick the energy up a little bit. Hey, man, we appreciate it. Thank you so much. It's great to talk to you again. We really enjoyed it in spring training, and we'll try to make a good attempt to do this again every couple months. Thanks so much.
All right. You're welcome. Take care.
That is Mariners hitting coach Kevin Seitzer. He throws the roof comment in there, too. He sounds like one of us.
Oh, he sounds exactly like the two of us. In case we haven't made it abundantly clear, which I think we have if you listen to our podcast, there is about 5 stadiums in baseball that should get a pass for not having a roof, and every other stadium should have
The
one.
historical ballpark. Yeah, it's the historical ballparks. Yeah, just the historical ones.
The historical ballparks, and I'll say if you live in a warm weather state with very little rain.
San Diego.
Yeah, so I'll say San Diego, the Angels, and the Dodgers get a pass, because how often is it really going to rain in those places? Probably pretty little. You don't really need a roof on those places. And yeah, the 2 historical ballparks, Wrigley and Fenway, wouldn't make any sense to have roofs on those places. It wouldn't look right. It probably wouldn't fit the ballpark, etc. The rest of these ballparks need roofs. The White Sox, the fact that stadium doesn't have a roof is insane.
No excuse, because the ballpark doesn't have enough character to back it up otherwise, to give it an excuse not to have a roof. Because, say, for example, Yankee Stadium, they'll come out and say, you can't put a roof on Yankee Stadium. That just doesn't look right. But we're not making that case for Rate Field.
No. Honestly, the new Yankee Stadium, does that really get a pass either?
Some would argue. I'm not going to give it a pass because it's just like a big corporate entity, that stadium. I don't think that stadium has enough character as the old stadium did to warrant that excuse, but I do think Yankee fans would tell you that.
Probably, but my take is there are 5 stadiums that can get a pass for not having a roof, and the rest of stadiums in baseball should have a roof. Look at Chicago weather early in the year.
List off those 5 for us.
Wrigley,
Yep.
Fenway,
Okay.
Angel Stadium, Dodger Stadium, Petco Park. That's it.
Yeah, I'll buy it. All right.
Every other stadium needs a roof.
That makes sense. TJ Mathewson and Lyle Goldstein from the Marine Layer podcast sitting in here on a Monday. Couple things we didn't get to touch on in that opening segment that we can close out the hour with. What do we make of how the pitching staff was handled the last couple of days? It didn't feel like, for how the bullpen was used, for how some of the pitching staff was used, that the Mariners set themselves up in a correct situation. And now I will say, they did say, as the course of the game went on, and Goldie was mentioning it on the television broadcast, hey, some of these guys might just be down here today on Sunday. But the fact of the matter is, the Mariners had some high leverage opportunities on Sunday for Gabe Speier or Andres Munoz to pitch late in that game, and we didn't see them. What do you make of that?
So I would say there were 3 bullpen management operations that had me scratch my head a little bit, but we can just quickly talk through them. Number 1, and this is the one I have the least gripes with because I think I understand the reasoning. I thought when Matt Brash came in to get the team out of the 8th inning in that jam, that he could go back out there for the 9th because he only threw 10 pitches. He only faced a couple hitters. And then I figured because they talked about Munoz potentially being down, that it could be Brash back out there to at least start the 9th.
And he had at least thrown 21 pitches earlier in the series, I believe, on Friday. That's when he threw that amount. So you're like, all right, so he's only at 10. You think he could get through the next 10 pitches as well?
Right. The other side of that coin is, and I'm guessing this is where they sided, you still have to be cautious with Matt Brash. He's not that far removed from coming back from the injury. He's not throwing back-to-backs yet or anything like that. And I'm guessing it had something to do with the fact you get him up, you get him in the game. They don't want to have him sit down and then get hot again and get back up and go back in there. And they figured once he was done with that 8th inning, they just move on to the next guy.
Didn't want to ramp him up, bring him down, ramp him back up,
Right.
et cetera. Not as good.
So that one I can at least understand somewhat. I think the one that has most people scratching their heads is, speaking of getting guys up and then down and then back up again, is Casey Legumina threw 2 full innings on Saturday, and then on Sunday they get him up to throw the ninth, and clearly it didn't work to their advantage considering Jose Altuve gets on and then Christian Walker walks it off.
And it's not to say Casey Legumina hasn't been pitching well. He has been pitching well, but the other Mariners leverage arms hadn't pitched much at all during the weekend. We didn't see Gabe Spire getting ready at all. I know the Astros had a righty-heavy lineup, but at some point, I feel like you got to put Gabe and the results he's given you this season in the game to set yourself up for a situation. Here's what I'll say about the Munoz side of this, because we didn't see Andres Munoz on Sunday at all. He could have flatly been down. They might have waited to save him for a situation, a save situation. Here's what I'll say. As much as I disagree with only using Andres Munoz when you have a lead, because I don't think that's how you best utilize your best bullpen arm. I think you just need to use him in the most important situation of every game, the most important pock of hitters. They've been consistent with how they've used Andres Munoz. So I'll say, all right, I mean, they're just following their process of how they use Munoz. The Gabe Spire thing, like they've used him against righties this year at some points. He has had to face them at some points in a given series in this season so far. You knew you were going to face a bunch of righties in this lineup, and he had only pitched one time in the first game of this series. So why wasn't he available on Sunday? I don't know.
Well, and the only time he pitched was in a total blowout. So look, I know Gabe Spire has dominated lefties this year, and when I say dominate, I mean dominate. Lefties are running out about a 300 OPS against Gabe Spire. Righties are doing a little bit better than that. But Gabe Spire has also been one of your leverage relievers all year and one of the three best arms in this bullpen. So to go to Casey Legumina, who just threw 2 full innings the day before in the 9th inning, when you have Gabe Spire who's fully rested and has pitched extremely well in leverage all season, yeah, I thought that scenario made a lot of sense to go to Gabe, but they didn't.
The 509 has a couple of comments on your roof lists. 509 suggests, I would hate to see a roof in San Francisco or Pittsburgh with them being right on the water. Other than that, I wholeheartedly agree. Fair point. However, let me make this case here in terms of the 509's trying to protect the view. Mariners have a pretty good view from their ballpark looking at downtown. They have a roof as well. You can make it happen. You can have the retractor roof that, sure, maybe from a plane it doesn't look as good, but the games get played, which is important.
Yeah, and San Francisco, as anybody knows who's spent any time there, just watched any games on TV there, they get bad weather throughout the year, especially early in the season. Again, what other professional sport has games canceled in the big 2025 because there's water falling down from the sky?
No other ones. The ones that would risk that, play inside.
Correct.
Yeah, we're not talking about thunder and lightning. We're not talking about hurricanes, tornadoes. We're talking about rain. Rain falling from the sky. That's it. That's the only thing. TJ Mathewson and Lyle Goldstein from the Marine Layer podcast filling in here on Memorial Day. Coming up next, it's a pitching hour. How concerned should the Mariners be about some of Bryce Miller's comments from this past weekend? That and more coming up next on Brock and Salk, Seattle Sports, and the Seattle Sports app.
Bump and Stacy, weekdays 10 to 2.
The bar is set a little higher than it used to be. What's been most impressive to me this whole year is just how they've been playing on the road this year. Second most wins in MLB. And you're winning in ways that we did not expect. But Dan has said it. You said it. I heard Jerry say the other day as well. They win in multiple ways. And if you want to be a good baseball team, that's what you have to do.
Bump and Stacy, weekdays 10 to 2 on Seattle Sports, the app, YouTube, and your smart speaker.
Feeling lucky? Don't miss the Lucky Classic Collector Car Truck and Boat Auction, Saturday, May 31st at Tacoma's LeMay Marymount Event Center. Hundreds of cars, vintage, muscle, exotic, classics, trucks, boats, and more. Saturday, May 31st at Tacoma's LeMay Marymount Event Center. Millions of dollars in inventory, many must sell with no reserve whatsoever. Get lucky, get local, and get in line for the Northwest's greatest collector car auction. Auction details at luckyoldcar.com.
Welcome to AutoZone. What are you working on today?
My car is making this noise. Sometimes it's like doot doot, and sometimes it's like grrr.
Do you have a dash light on?
Oh yeah.
Then we don't have to listen for clues. With the free Fix Finder service, we can read a check engine, ABS, or maintenance light to find the likely fix and even recommend a local shop if you need one.
So you don't need to hear the grrr.
Not with Fix Finder. Everything you need, nothing you don't.
Get in the zone, AutoZone.
Restrictions apply.
The success you've already had matters at University of Maryland Global Campus because we're a school for real life. An accredited state university, UMGC lets you earn up to 90 credits toward a bachelor's for prior learning, life, and work experience, or transfer up to 12 credits toward a master's. We offer affordable tuition and online and hybrid courses. No application fee if you apply by May 30th. Learn more at umgc.edu. Certified to operate in Virginia by Chev.
Throw down to second base, tagged by JP on the money, and he is out.
Home. Home is your domain, where you know every inch like the back of your hand.
Julio racing back out of the warning track, but he makes the catch, and he flashes to the no-fly zone.
A place that brings out your protective side, and a place you'll always stand up for.
Going, it will fly away.
Because what's inside is the most valuable thing in the world. Your family. Mariners baseball at T-Mobile Park. Welcome home.
The Mariners are back in town this week for a 9-game homestand, and the fun kicks off with a 3-day Randy Arozarena bobblehead giveaway tomorrow through Thursday against the Nationals. All 3 games are Mariners value games, which means you can score seats starting at just $11. Get your tickets today at mariners.com.
Hey 12s, Steve Rabel here, voice of your Seattle Seahawks. The wait is over, and tickets are on sale now for our historic 50th season. This season is going to be legendary, with past, present, and future colliding at Lumen Field. Get your tickets today at Seahawks.com/tickets.
We've all been there, sleepless nights, wondering if your business's security service is really protecting what matters. At Bay Alarm, we can put your security insecurities to bed. Our advanced technology and personalized support ensure you can rest easy knowing we're here for you. BayAlarm.com.
Hey, it's Dr. Coogan with Eastside Weight Loss Clinic. Spring is here, and I know you want to look and feel your best as you head into this new season. Are you tired of the roller coaster of losing weight just to see it all come back again? Maybe you've heard about the new drugs but are concerned with the possible side effects, or you're taking weight loss drugs but also want to learn how to change your lifestyle for long-lasting results. We can help you. We have a team of health coaches that can support you every step of the way. Schedule your free 15-minute, no-pressure phone consultation online at eastsideweightlossclinic.com.
Hey, it's Mike Salk here with Ryan Rowland Smith.
Thanks, Mike. I've been hearing for about 2 years now how you did the Eastside Weight Loss Clinic plan, and you lost a ton of weight. So I decided to see what the program was all about, and I'm so glad I did. So far, I've lost 30 pounds, and my only regret is not starting sooner.
Join the thousands of people who've lost 20 to 30 pounds or more in just 60 days. It doesn't matter where you live. You can do our program in person in Kirkland or all remotely. Schedule your free phone consultation online at eastsideweightlossclinic.com. That's eastsideweightlossclinic.com.
Dr. Ryan Coogan, D.C. Results may vary.
Need assistance with door and window projects? The Home Depot can help. From inspiration and materials to ordering and installation, our free millwork virtual apron service can get you moving and doing. Plus, we speak Spanish too. Our associates can help you tackle complex jobs without you leaving the job site, saving you time and money. Call us at 1-833-HD-APRON or visit homedepot.com/MVA. The Home Depot, how doers get more done.
Evan Cohen here. It's time to turn things up a notch. This summer, don't binge watch shows, binge s'mores by the campfire. Press pause on the podcast and press play on the warm weather vibes. Here's your chance to win $10,000 for your ultimate summer. What are you waiting for? Take your shot with 5-Hour Energy and make this summer your best summer ever. Visit 5heshot.com for full details and rules and to enter today. No purchase necessary. Ends June 30th, 2025.
Let's go! This is Seattle Sports.
Streaming through the Seattle Sports app.
KIRO AM Seattle. KIRO FM HD2 Tacoma. Home of the Seahawks, Mariners, and everything Seattle sports.
Get in the freaking auto!
From the Quantum Fiber Studio, this is Brock and Salk on Seattle Sports.
I don't read the internet, guys.
Take the bull by the hands.
And Brooke, you are. And Brooke, you are.
Now here are your hosts, Brock Heward and Mike Saul.
TJ Mathewson and Lyle Goldstein from the Marine Layer podcast, filling in for Brock and Salk on a Memorial Day. On Saturday, we got sim games from both Logan Gilbert and Bryce Miller. The vibe coming from both of them, ultimately positive. Both of them said they felt good after it. They roughly threw 2 innings worth of pitches. They ramped up to the mid-90s. They mixed in some off-speed pitches for both of them, mixing in some splitters as well. So they're working their way back, which is great. Logan Gilbert sounds like he needs one more sim game, and then he'll go on a minor league rehab outing. Bryce Miller could be back the next time he picks up a ball and throws live. They'll get it. Well, I assume we'll get an update from Justin Hollander when he speaks tomorrow at the start of the homestand. I would anticipate that. I look out for that, and I'm sure it'll be talked plenty on Wednesday morning show. Keep out for it on the internet Tuesday afternoon. But there was one quote from Bryce Miller that has us scratching our head a little bit, and which has ultimately led to some discussion over the last couple of days. So here's what Bryce said at the end of an article written by Daniel Kramer of MLB.com, talking about his outing, and this is after all the positive things that happened from Bryce Miller. Miller then comes out and says after, when he talks about the cause of his inflammation, his elbow inflammation that is that I know the cause, but I don't know if I should say it. I'll say that everything structurally is really good. There's something in there that causes the inflammation and something I can't just take out without missing the rest of the year. So ideally, I get myself to the end of the year, and then we can reassess and see if I need to clean it up or anything. But at the end of the day, it feels good. What do you make of that?
I'm glad that Bryce Miller feels like he's ready to go when these 15 days are up and he gets off the IL. But the other side of this is it really feels like he's going to have something in his elbow that he's going to have to pitch through for the rest of the season. And it feels like he's going to have to battle through this for about a 4-month stretch because from what he said in that article, he makes it sound like, look, there's two options. It's essentially sink or swim for the rest of the year. Pitch through what I'm battling or get whatever procedure it takes to fix this issue, but I'd come back in 2026.
He also said, though, he was pitching through this at the end of last season, felt fine in spring training, and then it sparked back up as he got into this season as well. He's shown he can be successful with this. There's a couple of different ways you look at this. There's the stuff part where his fastball velocity ticks down, and it's been talked about plenty that Bryce Miller doesn't play as well when he's throwing 92 as opposed to when he's throwing 95. It changes his arsenal completely. He can't just throw pitches over the plate when he's throwing 92 miles an hour because he becomes very hittable at that point. When he's throwing 96, guys will swing through his fastballs significantly more often. That's a big thing. Last year, that wasn't a problem. He was holding his velocity very well. But there's also the mental side of this and his conviction with pitches. In this article, he talks about, hey, I haven't thrown my splitter as much, one of his better pitches, by the way, and one of his better out pitches, and somewhat of a unicorn, maybe not totally unicorn, but it's very unique when it comes to this rotation in terms of the shape of it and how it's thrown in the direction it goes when he does throw it. He hasn't thrown it as much this season because he hasn't felt as confident in the pitch, hasn't liked how it's looked coming out of his hand, so he hasn't even had that tool in his arsenal. So, what's going to be the thing that would worry you the most? Would it be the fact that maybe his velocity's not back up or that he's not confident in his stuff?
Well, before we get to that, let me just explain for people. In terms of what you said about his splitter, it's so unique because it almost looks like a knuckleball half the time, right?
It goes in random directions. He doesn't even know really where it goes when it leaves his hand. It could fade arm side, it could go glove side, it could go straight down. There's a number of ways he could go about it.
In terms of which concerns me more, I would say the physical side, just because what Bryce Miller really prides himself on and what his bread and butter's been through the first 2 years of his career, now going into his third, is he has a great fastball and he's developed the splitter, which gets a bunch of swing and miss, paired with what's really good command. Last year, Bryce Miller didn't walk anybody, right? I mean, he was top 10 in the league in walks per 9. Him, Logan Gilbert, George Kirby, they don't walk guys. Well, Brian Wu doesn't either. Right now, Bryce Miller's walking a lot of guys, and when you look at the command of his pitches this year, even the velocity aside, which is waned and faded as his starts have gone on, the actual balls and strikes being thrown and where pitches have landed just hasn't been there compared to where it's been in years past. When you see Bryce Miller have outings where he walks 5 guys, it's head-scratching. You say, that's not what Bryce Miller does. That's not his bread and butter. Yeah, it raises concerns. I'm not saying the mental side's not important. It is, and he's talked about it plenty. But he's got to throw hard, and he's got to throw strikes, and there's been a lot of ups and downs with that so far throughout the year with him.
The 206 saying, it sounds like he's making pre-excuses for potentially bad outings. At this point, I'm not sure what else he's supposed to do, because either he's transparent, and people are like, okay, I understand Bryce is working through something, or he doesn't say anything, period, and people say, oh, is Bryce Miller cooked? Is he done?
And I think Bryce Miller's transparency is awesome, by the way.
I agree. I'm 100% with you.
The fact he is so open to he helps people, fans, media, et cetera, just learn more about pitching because he's so open about all of his, how he works, the way his arsenal, move, like the way he's developed his arsenal of pitches, et cetera. Like listening to Bryce Miller talk is awesome.
The mental side of it for him, though, I do feel like sometimes a little too transparent when because he talked about, kind of after every bad start he had about how much it mentally affected him and how it affected him throughout the game and what he was throwing and all this stuff. I do feel like at some point, like, you need to compartmentalize that. You need to find a way to, you're just like, all right, my fastball wasn't feeling good today, wasn't landing my breaking ball. It didn't work out. My stuff deteriorated. I'm going to work on that. I need to get healthy at this point, but not like, I wasn't feeling good out there. I didn't have the conviction with my pitches, and it's like, it's really getting to me. I do feel like that leaves you at a disadvantage if, say, a hitter is going and reading about you and studying up on the starting pitcher for that night, like, hey, look, in the fourth inning, this guy might get in his own head if he's giving up a run or two.
Do you think it really plays that much of a difference? I'm not sure it does. I don't really think it does. I don't really think it does.
I do think you need to build that sort of wall mentally, though. You have to.
Well, sure. I mean, being mentally tough is something...
You have to give yourself every advantage you can.
Well, being mentally tough is something every pitcher has to face and has to conquer, but I don't think Bryce Miller, talking about transparently how he's feeling is really the demise of
it's not going to be the demise of him, but maybe it's almost along the lines of fake it until you make it. Right? And so someone sees you struggle and they say, I'm not buying that for a second, right? But there is a thing as too transparent. I think there is a thing on that.
There's a such thing as too transparent. I don't really feel like he's crossed that line by talking about the mental side of the game. Personally, that's just me. The other question I want to ask here before we move on is, how soon are we going to get a read on who Bryce Miller is and how much his time on the IL really helped him get back to normal or not? Like, how many starts are we going to need to see from Bryce Miller to determine if this IL stint really got him back to some level of health?
3 starts.
Sounds about
I think
right.
you will know 3 starts in whether or not Bryce Miller is going to continue to pitch the rest of the season. Because by that 3rd start, I think he'll mostly be stretched out again. So if he wanted to pitch the 6th or 7th, he could potentially do that if he wanted to. Can he get there and will he look good? Will the fastball be up? Will the off-speed pitches be landing? Is his command going to look good? Is he going to be able to control what he controlled like he did so well last season? If it doesn't look like that, then the Mariners ultimately have to sit here and make a pretty important decision.
Because if he's throwing 91 in the 5th inning, which has happened a time or two in some of his outings early on, it's going to raise some questions. If he's still doing that after this IL stint, they're going to have to take a long look at what to do with Bryce Miller the rest of the year.
It's not even, is he just struggling? It's, is he a bottom 20 starter in baseball because of something that is perked up in his elbow and something that can be fixed and get him back to full health, but he needs to miss the rest of the season. I mean, that's, I think, a decision that ultimately is going to have to be made from the Mariners front office and from Bryce Miller if the struggles continue and they're like, all right, well, we need an ultimatum here on this.
So let's quickly say, before we wrap this up, watch these first 3 starts of his back from the IL very, very closely, because I think everybody's going to get a pretty good tell on it.
There's going to be another question they have to answer when it comes to Bryce Miller's rotation spot, and it has to do with a couple of his teammates. We'll answer that after Need to Know Next. TJ Mathewson and Lyle Goldstein from the Marine Layer Podcast, sitting in for Brock and Salk on Seattle Sports and the Seattle Sports app.
Wyman and Bob, afternoons 2 to 7.
What if the Mariners were fully healthy? They had their full complement of everybody in the rotation. You had Robles, you had Rayleigh, Brash from the start of the year, I guess. 2. All of those guys are only worth 2 wins?
They're getting it done in a different kind of way. I mean, I think everything has worked out for a reason.
Dave Wyman and Bob Stelton, afternoons 2 to 7 on Seattle Sports, the app, YouTube, and your smart speaker.
Bump here. Celebrate Memorial Day weekend at the West Hills Chrysler Jeep Dodge Ram Beach Party. Enjoy summer vibes, games, and prizes, including a Traeger grill with vehicle purchase, Amazon gift card with test drive, and enter to win a tropical getaway. Plus, get employee pricing on all new Chrysler Jeep Dodge Ram vehicles. Join the beach party at West Hills Chrysler Jeep Dodge Ram, just off the Auto Centerway exit, Highway 3, Bremerton. Part of the Hazelwood Auto Group. Hazelwood has it all.
Emerald Queen Casino Event Center presents the main event. Powered by WFC, Saturday night, June 14th. A night of professional boxing where champions are made and every punch counts. Contenders from the region go toe-to-toe, ready to prove they belong at the top. Tickets at EmeraldQueen.com. Don't miss Fight Night, June 14th at Emerald Queen Casino, the boxing capital of the Northwest. 21 and older, need gambling help? Call 800-547-6133 or visit EmeraldQueen.com.
Still getting around to that fix on your car? You got this. On eBay, you'll find millions of parts guaranteed to fit. Doesn't matter if it's a major engine repair or your first time swapping your windshield wipers. eBay has that part you need, ready to click perfectly into place for changes big and small. Loud or quiet. Find all the parts you need at prices you'll love. Guaranteed to fit every time. But you already know that. eBay. Things, people, love. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply.
Progressive knows when you're on your boat, you're already on vacation. And Vacation You forgets all your worries. Vacation You doesn't even keep track of time and knows that time is a meaningless construct designed to control us, man. But Regular You knows you don't want to be too far out in the water after the sun goes down because Vacation You doesn't know how to navigate in the dark yet. Vacation You and Regular You really need to get on the same page. So bundle your boat with your home or auto policy and earn an automatic discount from Progressive. And spend the savings on the both of you. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company affiliates and other insurers. Not available in all states or situations.
Riverside Roofing is offering $1,000 off a new roof replacement. Book a free estimate online, and when you meet with Brandon, that's Don's son, tell him you heard the message on the radio station. Go to riversideroofingllc.com. It's Riverside Roofing, the roofing company you can trust.
An Aussie trucker travels to America to hike an epic trail.
It was rocky, it was imposing.
But Eric Robinson never made it to the end. I'm Dave Cawley. Follow my podcast, Uinta Triangle, UINTA, on Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen.
My wife and I have been married for over 15 years, and I've never had any complaints about my performance in the bedroom. But after I turned 40, things started feeling different. I was gaining weight, losing muscle, and I just wasn't interested in sex anymore. My wife told me her friend's husband went through the same thing, and it turns out he had low testosterone. So we booked a free T-check at Revive Health, and that's when I learned that my testosterone levels were low too. We worked with a provider to create a custom treatment plan, and today, my wife and I are having more fun than we did on our honeymoon. My only regret is not reaching out sooner.
If you're ready to book your free T-check, visit ReviveMen'sHealth.com or call 206-529-1111. Again, that's 206-529-1111.
We are Seattle Sports, the home of the Seahawks, Mariners, and everything Seattle sports.
Watch your favorite show live at seattlesports.com.
Hey, baseball fans, Rick Riz here. I'm excited to introduce you to my good friend Keith Dashafy, owner of Pella Windows and Doors of Western Washington. Keith?
Thanks, Rick. At Pella Windows and Doors, we pride ourselves on delivering top-quality windows and doors that enhance the beauty and energy efficiency of your home. Our products are built to last with innovative designs and exceptional craftsmanship. Whether you're looking to upgrade your windows or install new doors, Pella has you covered.
That's fantastic, Keith. Don't wait. Schedule your free appointment today at PellaPNW.com.
Warmer weather, more sunlight, and your new car. That's right. At Toyota of Kirkland and Toyota of Renton, summer starts here. With their combined inventory of new, used, and certified pre-owned inventory, you're in for a summer to remember. Their fantastic teams will set you up with a test drive so you can ride off into that summer sun the same day. Summer starts here at Toyota of Kirkland and Toyota of Renton. Whether you're in the north or the south, they got you covered. Visit their incredible showrooms today or online at toyotaofkirkland.com and toyotaofrenton.com.
O'Brien. Hey, Brock Ewart here for my friends over at Xfinity. You know, change is always happening. It's part of life. And when it comes to music, we know that change is all around us. Songs are rewritten and remade. Classics are remixed. Bands and artists, well, they come and go. Even our taste in music, as we get older, can change a bit. But no matter how things change in 5 years, there's one thing that will stay the same. And that is the price of your internet. That's right. Xfinity is introducing a 5-year price guarantee. It means you get 5 years of the most reliable Wi-Fi with their best equipment included for a price that stays exactly the same. Are you surprised? Well, life is full of them. One internet price, 5 years, guaranteed. Learn more at Xfinity.com/deals. Now, restrictions apply. New residential customers only. Taxes and fees extra and subject to change. Most reliable Wi-Fi based on Open Signal Awards USA. Fixed Broadband Experience Report August of 2024. Go check it all out right online at Xfinity.com/deals.
Need to know.
15 minutes past every hour with Brock and Salk.
Here's what you need to know. Up first.
Tough weekend for the Mariners in Houston, losing 3 of 4 to the Astros. It looked like the Mariners were going to, border towards an excellent road trip. They had to settle for a good road trip after a 5-3 win Friday. The Mariners offense goes cold Saturday and Sunday, a 2-1 loss on Saturday. Brian Wu throwing the ball away in the first inning. The offense scuffling. And then you get to Sunday, the Mariners had opportunities to score in the 7th, 8th, and 9th inning. They let the Astros come back, and Christian Walker with a 2-run walk-off home run in to send the Mariners home and losing 3 of 4 in Houston.
Hit deep to left field. Ball game! Christian Walker walks it off, and the Astros win it and take 3 out of 4 from the Seattle Mariners.
And there was a couple of issues besides the offense that popped up this weekend. The bullpen management wasn't fantastic. Mentioned the runners in scoring position. I thought the starting, the outings the Mariners got from the rotation were okay. Brian Wu, from a runs allowed perspective, was solid on Saturday. He did make the crucial error in the first inning that allowed those 2 runs to score. He gave up a bunch of hits. Was there a big concern that stood out?
I think the fact they were 0 for 6 with runners in scoring position on Sunday was tough. They had chances in the 7th, 8th, and 9th, and what felt like a important game for what a late May important game can look like. Again, it's only May, but the fact the Astros are the second-place team in the division and that win or loss was going to determine the difference between a 3.5-game lead and a 1.5-game lead in the West felt, again, for the time period we're at, semi-important, not the end of the world, but means something in a full season of games when you have to go through tiebreakers and depending on how the Astros play the rest of the season. I would say that. I wouldn't say I was that concerned with the rotation and how they pitched. I mean, Brian Wu, even with the errant throw aside, you get through 6 innings and only gives up 2 total runs with none of them being earned. You take it. He's been pretty good. It's just that when the offense doesn't capitalize on their opportunities, I would say that's what jumps out.
I'll say when you play the way they played in the first 2 series of that road trip to get them to the 6-4 point, you can afford to lose 3 and 4 at the back end. If you keep doing 6 and 4 on the road all season, a .600 winning percentage, I think you'll end up pretty good. That's something the Mariners did not do enough of last year.
How about this? They had 2 extra base hits in the final 2 games total.
That won't work. Not for how they play offense. At least they'll have a chance to get back on track. They're back at home against the Nationals tomorrow, 6:40 first pitch. Our guy Logan Evans on the bump.
Here's the second thing you need to know.
Some positive and perhaps negative, if you want to look at it this way, injury news. We got positive updates from both Bryce Miller and Logan Gilbert. They both threw sim games on Saturday. Logan Gilbert expected to have one more sim game before he goes out on a minor league rehab assignment. Both of them say structurally, everything's all good with their elbows, which is about as good as you can hear from 2 guys with elbow injuries on the IL.
Yeah, and both of them threw about 50 pitches in their sim games. Logan Gilbert, by the way, is getting up to 95 miles an hour during that sim game. I would call that a good sign for a guy that people had some fair concerns about when the injury popped up a few weeks ago. Seems like he's progressing back about as well as he possibly could. I think it's fair to say the more concerning note was on Bryce Miller, like we just talked about in the last segment.
And Bryce mentioning that they found the source of his elbow inflammation problem. He didn't say exactly what it was, but he did say if they're going to take it out and they're going to clean it up in season, that it would require him missing the rest of this season. So now it's just a matter of weighing, would you rather have Bryce Miller not at 100%? Can he pitch through it? Or would you rather get him healthy and ready for next season? Because who knows what the timeline is if they wait until the offseason to take care of this issue. He could end up missing time into next season. But if he can be a valuable pitcher for you down the stretch still, even with this issue and not at 100%, then you'd probably rather take that and then have him worry about this in the offseason.
It's interesting. Let me preface this with the statement that follows. Neither of us are doctors. I think we were way too dumb, each of us, to even come close to being doctors in our life. That being said, I wonder what this Bryce Miller injury is, because it's structurally fine, but he would have to miss a real chunk of time if he got whatever's bothering him cleaned up.
Here's the third thing you need to know.
Playoffs in full action across the NBA and the NHL. The Knicks come back down 20 last night to win a thrilling Game 3 against the Pacers, 106-100. Karl-Anthony Towns entered the fourth quarter with just 4 points, but then had 20 in the final period. In a game the Knicks really needed to have, they were staring at a 3-0 deficit against the Pacers, but they're able to scratch out. Game 4 will come up later on this week, and the Knicks a chance. They will now guarantee themselves another game back at the Garden. They don't have to worry about getting swept.
This is true. And you know what? When you get to the semifinals in a playoff format of really any sport, you need your stars to shine. And I would say in basketball and in hockey this weekend, that's what happened. On Saturday, the Timberwolves absolutely boat raced the Thunder. I'm sure everybody around here is just heartbroken about that. That came on the back of 30 points from Anthony Edwards. And then over on the ice, if you want to look at the Oilers game when they dominated Dallas 6-1 yesterday, that came on 2 goals from Connor McDavid. So I would say the stars were out.
And the Florida Panthers are 1 game away from a return trip back to the Stanley Cup Finals, looking for their 3rd consecutive appearance and their 2nd consecutive championship. So they're trying. We could get a rematch in the Stanley Cup Finals of last year's Cup Finals between the Edmonton Oilers and the Florida Panthers. Both those teams leading their series. Edmonton up 2-1, Florida up 3-0. In terms of Kraken news, not much else to update on the Kraken head coaching search. Matty Beniers, though, Joey Decord and Mikey Esimont helping Team USA win a historic first-place finish in the Ice Hockey World Championships over the weekend in Stockholm, Sweden. That's Team USA's first championship in that tournament since 1933. And that's everything you need to know. A quarter past every hour here on the Brock and Salk Show. Yeah, I don't think people will be too... I do think the Thunder are the clear and away favorites for the NBA Finals right now. It's pretty hard to dispute watching them. But yeah, it does make people feel a little bit better watching the Timberwolves say, okay, yeah, on a good night, we can still beat this team. So people around here are like, all right, I'm going to cross my fingers. Can we just get 3 more of those? We don't have to watch this.
Do you know who won the MVP in the NBA, by the way?
Shai Gilgeous-Alexander.
Oh, good. So you know who that is.
I do know who that is, yeah.
Well, some people that may or may not regularly host the show thought that was a made-up person.
And we watch the same amount of basketball, which is good. But I do pay it. I am perpetually online, so I do get to see this stuff.
Well, I'll watch the playoffs. I don't watch a bunch in the regular season. But yeah, when there's somebody that's winning the MVP and averaging over 30 points a game, I've heard of them. Mike Salk, however, has not. So here we are to fill everybody in on SGA.
Well, now that he won MVP, maybe he'll have to do that in Need to Know tomorrow, because that happened over the weekend as well. And now he can familiarize a little more with Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. I think that'll be good.
He can listen back to this podcast and he can learn a little bit about him.
Oh, that'll be good. That'll be a good way to brush up on the weekend. TJ Mathewson and Lyle Goldstein from the Marine Layer podcast, filling in for Brock and Salk here on Memorial Day. Coming up next, in terms of looking at Bryce Miller's rotation spot, they've gotten ample contributions from 2 guys who, we weren't sure if they were going to make huge contributions to the Mariners roster this season, but they have it anyways. We'll talk about those 2 guys next as we continue on Brock and Salk, Seattle Sports, and the Seattle Sports app.
Bump and Stacy, weekdays 10 to 2.
The bar is set a little higher than it used to be. What's been most impressive to me this whole year is just how they've been playing on the road this year. 2nd most wins in MLB. And you're winning in ways that we did not expect. But Dan has said it. You said it. I heard Jerry say it the other day as well. They win in multiple ways. And if you want to be a good baseball team, that's what you have to do.
Bump and Stacy, weekdays 10 to 2 on Seattle Sports, the app, YouTube, and your smart speaker.
So I formed Davis Law Group about 30 years ago, and I would get, the same questions from people about what to do in the case of an accident. Do you need a lawyer? To the point where I decided that I would at least write a book which would answer the common questions that I would receive as a lawyer. Once I wrote my first book, it proved to be hugely popular. I decided to write then a series of books in different accident cases so that we could really teach people about their rights, how to protect them, and how to decide on whether they need a lawyer and what lawyer to hire. I've found in my career that having a client that is educated and knowledgeable about their particular type of case really helps the client and also usually ends up making the case or the claim more successful. To get your free copy of any of my Washington accident books, visit WashingtonAccidentBooks.com.
It's Clean Car Month. Right now, get the Pro X1 Car Care Collection Wash Kit for just $19.99, exclusively at O'Reilly Auto Parts.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
Go from daydreamer to industry leader with Amazon Business. From office supplies to IT essentials, Amazon Business provides tools that help you save costs and make insight-based decisions. Learn how to bring your visions to life at AmazonBusiness.com. This message comes from Viking, committed to exploring the world in comfort. Journey through the heart of Europe on an elegant Viking longship with thoughtful service, destination-focused dining, and cultural enrichment on board and on shore. With small ships that bring travelers closer to the destination, there's more time to explore. And every Viking voyage is all-inclusive, with no children and no casinos. Discover more at Viking.com.
Get 0% financing for 72 months on Cat compact construction equipment at NC Machinery. Built for performance, durability, and comfort. Buy now and take advantage of 0% financing for 72 months at NC Machinery.
Warmer weather, more sunlight, and your new car. That's right. At Toyota of Kirkland and Toyota of Renton, summer starts here. With their combined inventory of new, used, and certified pre-owned inventory, you're in for a summer to remember. Their fantastic teams will set you up with a test drive so you can ride off into that summer sun the same day. Summer starts here at Toyota of Kirkland and Toyota of Renton. Whether you're in the north or the south, they got you covered. Visit their incredible showrooms today or online at toyotaofkirkland.com and toyotaofrenton.com.
O'Brien.
An Aussie trekker travels to America to hike an epic trail.
It was rocky, it was imposing.
But Eric Robinson never made it to the end. I'm Dave Cawley. Follow my podcast, Uinta Triangle, UINTA, on Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen.
Headed to the ballpark? Skip the traffic jams, parking fees, and the stress of driving. Make riding transit part of your game day ritual. Roll in with your crew, talk stats, and meet fans. No traffic, no stress. Community Transit riders enjoy seamless connections to light rail and ferries to get to Seattle and beyond. And youth 18 and under ride the bus for free. All in for the win. Plan your trip with Community Transit at ctgo.org/homerun.
Subscribe to the Seattle Sports YouTube page to find new and exclusive content from your favorite shows and personalities daily. Just head to YouTube, search Seattle Sports, and click subscribe.
Do you have a car sitting around collecting dust? Well, turn that car into cash at Wayscar Ford in Auburn. Not only will they purchase your vehicle today, pay you right up front, but it gets way better. Once they resell your old car, they share 50% of their profit with you. I'm here with my friend Mark Clymer from Wayscar Ford in Auburn. So, Mark, it's been a few years since you started offering this. How's it going? And how much money have you given back to your customers that sold their cars to Wayscar Ford under this program?
It's going great, Stacy. As a matter of fact, we've given back over $750,000 to the customers that have sold their cars to us on our vehicle profit sharing program.
Wow, that's fantastic. Why do you think it's working so well?
Let's face it, it's Thunderdome out there with all the auto theft, the identity theft, and the other scams going on today. Less and less people are comfortable trying to sell their car themselves. So we offer them a way to get a lot more money for their car without having to go through all the hassle of trying to sell it themselves.
And it's only at Wayscar Ford, Isuzu in Auburn. WayscarFord.com.
You ever try fixing your car and realize you're missing that one part? Yeah, been there. That's why eBay's my go-to. They've got millions of parts, guaranteed to fit. I'm talking brake pads for when yours have seen one too many miles of stop and go. Oil filters, because you don't mess around with your engine care. Even got this cold air intake on my watch list. I might just go for it. To keep the ride cool and your DIY streak hot. Find all the parts you need at prices you'll love. Guaranteed to fit every time. eBay. Things people love. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply.
Progressive knows there are some surprisingly expensive things in life, like fences. A house with a big yard and a white picket fence was always the dream. But then you saw the price to install a fence and you're wondering if the color is driving the price up. Nobody ever dreams of a beige or a gray picket fence, right? So maybe those fences are cheaper. But no, they're not. Then you remember that switching your home and auto to Progressive could save you hundreds and make all your dreams of a fence come true. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company affiliates and other insurers. Not available in all states.
This hour of the Brock and Salk Show is powered by Star Rentals, preferred supplier to the West's best contractors.
From the Quantum Fiber Studio, you're listening to Brock and Salk.
Weekdays 6 to 10.
On Seattle Sports and 97.3 FM HD2.
TJ Mathewson and Lyle Goldstein from the Marine Layer podcast sitting in. You can find us Wherever you get your podcasts, if you haven't heard of us, we're all over social media as well. Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, fun content every single day. Here's a fun content idea, Lau, from the 253. Suggesting we should make a YouTube channel where we play MLB The Show, whether it's Diamond Dynasty or franchise mode with the Mariners. So who are we trading for first?
Are you really asking me that question?
Well, I'm going to make you answer it.
Oh, that would be one Kyle Daniel Tucker.
Do you think MLB The Show will let him you can extend players, right?
Oh, I'm sure.
So what's our offer to him?
Blank check.
Blank
check, baby.
Blank check. Blowing the budget out of proportion.
Whatever it takes to get him here. Do I have to hike in MLB The Show if they get Kyle Tucker?
Well, it's not that much of a sim. I think the only sim version is baseball. But I can make you still hike in person.
I'm not hiking over a simulation.
Oh, yes, you can.
I can. I'm not going to. The Mariners have to acquire him in real life for me to hike.
Because we joked about during the break, the time we would do this is when we anticipate the lockout happening a year and change from now, when we're going to need a bunch of content. Maybe we'll have to do it here at the station too, where they just play MLB The Show while the lockout goes on.
Well, that's what I was going to say.
But we're going to need something for you to do because there's going to be no baseball to watch during the summer, so you're going to have to find a new hobby.
Yeah, this is what I was going to respond to the 253. Two things. Number one, we do have a YouTube channel if you want to check that out. Among all the places you can find us, we are absolutely on YouTube, and we do a bunch of unique content. Number two, if this lockout goes all of 2027, I think we're going to be playing a lot of MLB The Show.
MLB The Show. We might pick up golf. You want to do golf a little bit during the summer?
Are people going to be interested in watching us golf?
Well, maybe this wouldn't be content. We just need something to do. There's no baseball games on.
Oh, God, I'm going to be so bored.
Yeah, but you can go golf with Salk. Maybe you'll shoot better than him.
You know, Salk's pretty good. For all the grief he gives himself, he's actually pretty good.
Okay, so he is better than what he talks about how good he is.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, he plays a lot.
That's good. Well, if you start practicing now, by then, maybe you'll be up on the same par as him.
You think I have any time to play golf these days? Well, actually, if you ask Salk, he'll say I would because, well, I'm just asleep half the time on this show.
Yeah, if you were awake instead of being asleep, maybe you could go to the driving range and hit a few balls. Yeah. So, okay, back to baseball. We were talking about the importance of the replacements for Bryce Miller in this rotation. And the two guys that have really helped the Mariners spell their injuries so far is Emerson Hancock and Logan Evans. Not every rotation in baseball can stamp that they have ample replacements for injured starting pitchers. Think about if I walked up to you in March, Lyle, and said, okay, the Mariners at one point this season are going to be missing Logan Gilbert, George Kirby, and Bryce Miller all at the same exact time. Kirby's back now. He's made one start. But the other two guys are still on the injured list, and all three of them were on the injured list at one point, even as soon as 1 week ago. And you were to say, all right, well, if you're going to list off that, I'm going to say the Mariners are not in first place. I'm going to say the Mariners are probably not aiming towards making the playoffs if that's the case. And I'm going to say the Mariners are in big trouble injury-wise. But they haven't been because of the contributions they've gotten from Emerson Hancock and Logan Evans. And I think the two guys have done it each in similar but also kind of different ways in how they filled in.
Sure. I mean, they're two different pitchers, especially the way they're throwing the ball now, in the sense of Logan Evans, as he likes to talk about, he is a kitchen sink pitcher. He's got 6 or 7 different pitches. He throws everything at you, and he gets a lot of soft contact. Emerson Hancock can be a ground ball pitcher at times too, but the way his velocity is just jump shot back up to where it almost was in college this year has been awesome. It's been such a revelation. I mean, this looks like a new and improved Emerson Hancock in the sense of a guy who's throwing up at the top of the zone, legitimately missing bats, something he hasn't done a ton of since he's gotten into the big leagues, dating all the way back to the tail end of 23, and legitimately finding swing and miss in his game.
And Emerson's been stamped once he's been a prospect. So he gets drafted number 6 overall in 2020. There's no pitching that year, but then over the next couple of years, as he's trending towards making his big league debut, Emerson has dealt with injuries. And once he's dealt with injuries, his velocity has dipped a little bit. His fastball, which sat, like you said, in the upper 90s at Georgia, turned it back towards the lower 90s. And he became more of a pitch-to-contact ground ball pitcher. And that was the scouting report on Emerson Hancock when he comes up in 2023. It's, hey, he's going to get a lot of ground balls. He's going to throw his sinker. He's going to throw his changeup. He's going to avoid making big mistakes over the middle of the plate. He's going to get ground balls to his infielders. That's how he's going to be a productive big leaguer. And I would say through 2023 and 2024 in the big leagues, that's who he was as a pitcher. But now in 2025, once the velocity has started jumping back up, and I will note, on average this season, his fastball velocity is up 1.5 miles per hour on average. That's a pretty extreme jump from last year to this year. And it has led to him having starts like he had against the Yankees at the beginning of 2 weeks ago now at this point exactly, on Monday, where he had an outing with 15 swings and misses. That's pretty good for a starting pitcher. Maybe you won't be Tarek Skubal this past weekend and have 20, I think it was 23 swings and misses he had. But 15 is still pretty good for Emerson Hancock, a guy who is not shown to have swing and miss stuff. So something is different there. Clearly, either the mix or the velocity or the combination of the both is making Emerson Hancock sort of a different pitcher this year. Before you talk a little bit about what he's done, sort of in the statistics-wise, let's hear a cut we had from our podcast last week. We talked to prospect writer Joe Doyle about if you were to potentially reevaluate Emerson Hancock, and it's different from what he is in the minors, what does it say about him now that his velocity has jumped back up? Here's what Joe had to say.
Without question, the version of Emerson Hancock that Seattle is throwing out there right now is by far the best version of Emerson Hancock that we've seen, including what we've seen from him at any point in his minor league career. Like, this is the Emerson Hancock that I was watching in 2019 at Georgia. He's always been a low slot righty going back to Georgia. That has worked tremendously for guys like Brian Wu. He is like 95 to 97 at the top of the zone from that slot. Like, you can miss buckets of bats if you can keep that shape, if you can keep that command, if you can keep that velocity. If this is the new Emerson Hancock, I think you do have to reevaluate this if this velocity is for real.
So what we talked about with that from Joe is we've seen Emerson start to have his velo jump up, and we've talked about that he's throwing harder than he ever has since he's gotten into the big leagues. And we said, let's say Emerson Hancock has roughly an 8 to 10 start stretch where this velo stays up. Because if it's in a 1 to 2 start sample, then it's probably not enough to totally reevaluate. But if this keeps up, we asked him, do you have to reevaluate who Emerson Hancock is as a pitcher? And that's what Joe said. He said, yeah, absolutely. If he's going to be throwing mid to upper 90s at the top of the zone, low slot, and missing bats like that, how could you not reevaluate the guy?
209's question is, isn't Emerson Hancock's ERA about 5.5? I do actually think it's a little bit higher than that. What are we talking about? Here's how I will frame this. There's a difference between process and results. We're really liking the process from where Emerson Hancock has been right now, as opposed to the results, which, again, have not been perfect, and there are things you can go nitpick with Emerson Hancock. He still gets hit really hard on most of his pitches. He's going to have to work on that. But if we get 5 to 10 to 15 starts of this stuff, I would have to imagine the results will follow the process of what he is doing. It's hard to think he's going to continue to get hit this hard if he's pumping upper 90s with his fastball and his slider continues to be really effective.
Yeah, and if you take out that first start where he didn't even make it out of the first inning, if you take that one away, his ERA climbs down a lot. So if you just look at what he's done since he's gotten back from Tacoma, he's been really good. I mean, just look at his start-by-start results and how he's pitched, how he's worked deep into games and gotten through the 6th inning a lot of the time. Honestly, if you even want to tighten the lens a little closer than that, he had one tough inning against the Yankees where, yeah, they jumped on him a little bit and hit him hard. The first 4 innings of his start against the Yankees were really sharp, and then they got to him a bit. And you take out that, you essentially take out 2 innings of Emerson Hancock's season. He has been awesome.
Which is where ERA can vary a little bit, and ERA comes into the next guy we'll talk about. I will note this. Emerson Hancock, on average, right now, we want innings out of the starters, right? You want to see the innings. You want to see the length. One of the biggest things about the bullpen, it's like, all right, we can't overexpose the middle of this bullpen because that's clearly not the strength of this team. Emerson Hancock is getting innings. He's gone 6 innings, I believe, in 4 of his last 6 starts. That is ultra, ultra, ultra valuable. Yeah. Speaking of getting length, same thing with our guy Logan Evans next.
Yeah, he's been great. Yeah. I mean, talk about a little bit of a different process because in 4 of his first 5 starts, he hasn't had crazy swing and miss. Now, he got a bunch in his last outing against Chicago, which was a pretty nice, I don't want to say revelation, but just a pretty nice sight to see for a guy that's still working on the fly and kind of learning on the fly as he started his big league career.
And he said he's not going to overpower everybody at the big league level. His stuff It has played up at times in the minors, but generally as a starter, the stuff hasn't been as overpowering swing and miss against those top-level talents and bats and major league players. I will say, though, the White Sox aren't really an MLB lineup. Technically, they are. They wear MLB jerseys. Closer to AAA, though.
How about the Padres? They're an MLB lineup, right?
They are an MLB lineup.
And Logan threw 6 shutout in San Diego on what was basically a sellout crowd on a Friday night in San Diego and really helped the Mariners. I don't know if anchored the Mariners to a win is fair, but in a lot of ways, yeah, he did, because he gave them length, he gave them efficiency, he gave them 6 shutout on just a couple Fridays ago, and that led to his ERA dropping into the sub-3s. Now after the White Sox started to jump back up, through 5 big league starts, Logan Evans has an ERA of 3.33.
And that's pretty good. Back to the ERA thing with these two guys. We floated this idea out here on the podcast. I'd love to get the text line's opinion on it. 866-979-3776. Is ERA a real stat?
Let us make our pitch on this. I'm sure there's a lot of people that are about to text.
Because Emerson Hancock's ERA is not great, and I feel like it is a misrepresentation when you take like 3% of someone's season and use it to paint a picture of their entire season, because it's like a very small portion of Emerson Hancock's season that causes his ERA to be 5.5. Logan Evans' ERA right now would be 6, if not for the opinion of somebody. Not something that actually happened in the game. The opinion of someone who ruled what an earned run was or not.
Yeah, because in his start in Texas, he originally got dinged up with what the official scorer called a bunch of runs, when there was a play on a fly ball out to left field that Randy Arozarena probably could have caught. The catch probability on that was high, but he didn't make the play. And the big one was a Ben Williamson ground ball that should have been a turn double play and ended the inning. It ended up not being that. The official scorer somehow, and I was shocked at the time it happened, ruled that a hit, which gave Logan Evans a bunch of earned runs in that start originally. And then about 10 days later, they reevaluated it and said, you know what? That was an error on Ben Williamson.
Just to think about it in the simplest of terms, someone's opinion changed Logan Evans' ERA from sent back to Tacoma to, oh, he's doing pretty good.
Well, he wasn't getting sent back to Tacoma.
He wasn't, but when you see someone with a 6 ERA, somebody will jump in and say that. But if they see a 3.3 ERA, they're not going to say that. And nothing changed with the results on the field, by the way. That's literally just someone in New York in Major League Baseball offices making a decision and saying, yeah, we'll change that back.
Like, I mean this with all the respect in the world to the people who are official scorekeepers in baseball, but these are usually not people's full-time jobs for the most part. Like, we met a few of them at the games, and it's usually people who have a regular job and like to do the official scorekeeping stuff on the side at times because, you know, it's a fun way to be around baseball and to be involved in baseball. But yeah, it is their opinion on a ball that determines somebody's ERA or not. They decide, oh, did that person make an error, yes or no? And if they determine no, that can jump somebody's ERA up. And if they determine, it would jump their ERA up. Or they determine, yes, it was an error, it doesn't jump their ERA up, which is why, again, I know a lot of people out there don't like to adapt to the new style and analytical wave of baseball. This is why it's important to look at some of that stuff. Because at that time, a lot of the underlying stuff on Logan Evans said, yeah, he's not pitching like a guy with a 6 ERA. He's pitching better than that.
And ultimately, this is sometimes back to Hancock, the difference of results versus process. Results can lie a little bit. I mean, it can paint a different picture than what's actually happening. You can have a guy with a great ERA, but his peripherals aren't good. Or you can have a guy with a bad ERA whose peripherals are bad. And the 209 follows up to the text about Hancock's ERA with saying, hey, Emerson's peripherals aren't great. Look, here's what I will say. I will use the peripherals at what you and I like to use. The general peripheral I like to look at with a pitcher or the hitter in terms of if their process is good. I'll go take a look at their Baseball Savant page. You don't have to pick one number. Just take a look at the entire page itself. Do you see red or do you see blue? Right? Blue is bad, red is good for that. That paints sort of a general idea. Is the process working good? And we're talking about rotation spots right now, by the way, in terms of like Bryce Miller's spot and the two guys who have essentially now been forced to fill Bryce Miller's rotation spot. They all roughly look the same right now, I will say. It is ballpark right in the same area. So, yeah, the peripherals aren't great. The same peripherals that we'll use for Hancock are similar to Logan Evans, and I'd say similar to Bryce Miller right now, and the decision the Mariners need to make with Bryce coming back healthy, which one would they prefer at that point?
Well, of course it's going to be Bryce Miller. He's the one that's earned his rotation spot. But it more leads back to this point, and the reason we're talking so much about these two guys is last year the Mariners didn't have injuries in their rotation for the most part. Luis missed a couple starts at the end of the year with the hamstring. Brian Wu missed the first month of the year or so with a little bit of the elbow issue of his own. And then he came back and especially in the second half of the year, he was great. But the Mariners only had to use 7 starters last year, and one of those 7 guys was Jonathan Diaz for one outing.
Start, yeah.
One outing. So as a result of that, the Mariners basically use 6 starters throughout the year. That is not normal. Most guys don't, or most teams don't use 6 starters throughout a year. Injuries just happen in baseball, especially in a rotation. But when you look at a team like the Dodgers, right, and this is what I wanted to tie this all back to. The Dodgers go 10 deep a lot of the time in their rotation throughout the year because you have your alphas and your dogs in a rotation, but when injuries pop up, like the Dodgers often seem to have, they have guys they can rely on in the sense of, look, Blake Snell's hurt right now for the Dodgers. Tyler Glasnow's hurt. Shohei hasn't come back yet from the Tommy John. Roki Sasaki's battled this shoulder thing. But as a result, the Dodgers turn to guys like Justin Wrobleski and Jack Dreyer and Landon Knack, guys you probably don't always hear of. And as a result, they still win baseball games. The Mariners have not always had this level of depth in their rotation organizationally. It's been top-heavy at times. Now, if there is an injury, and nobody wishes for any injuries ever, especially in this rotation, but if you get to an injury where somebody has to miss some time, I would like to think people feel pretty good all of a sudden about who's going to step in and replace them, because both Logan Evans and Emerson Hancock have absolutely done their job.
Good conversation about those two guys. We'll have more time to talk about them when we take your calls at 9:30. But until then, let's get to Blue 88.
This is Brock and Salk's Blue 88.
Blue 88! Blue 88!
We take you to the field as Brock Ewart breaks down 3 football questions as only he can.
Now here's your hosts, Brock Ewart and Mike Salk.
I do have one last note here on Emerson Hancock. The 209 makes a good point. You're saying that he could be on his way to being good given the return of Elo. Point worth making, but to say he's good now is false. That's a debatable point, but we can get to that later. Thank you for the contributions, 209. Up first, Lyle, PFF came out with their wide receiver rankings this year. They ranked all 32 wide receiver ones in the NFL. Jackson Smith-Njigba is on tier 5. And I'm just kind of floored looking at this list. Number 1, he's a tier behind DK Metcalf, which I wholeheartedly disagree with. But some of these other names on tier 5, Rashee Rice, Josh Downs, Zay Flowers, I'm sorry, no.
No. And also the guys ahead of him in tier 4. They put Ladd McConkey ahead of him with the Chargers. They put Brandon Ayuk ahead of him. I'm not with that. Now, PFF's reasoning for JSN's ranking is they said they felt like he did not grade out as well and perform as well when he was in single coverage. Call it what you want. When you catch 100 passes for over 1,100 yards, there can't be 26 receivers in the NFL better than you. Even with DK Metcalf gone, some people will argue that DK and his ability to take the top off defenses gave Jackson Smith-Njigba more opportunities and ultimately more volume for success. But I'm sorry, man. You put up the year you just had last year when you emerged as the team's #1 receiver and you were top 10, 15 in the league in receiving yards. No, you're not 27th.
No, I don't think so. Question number 2. NFL.com came out with their most underappreciated player for every NFC team. They did actually for all 32 teams, but I'm looking at the NFC version. And for the Seahawks, they had Ken Walker, which again, I thought was a very interesting choice. Is Ken Walker underappreciated?
I'm going to ask you. You sound like you have more of a question mark on your mind with this one than I do.
I don't think he's underappreciated. I just think it was a bad situation last year with the combination of an offensive coordinator who didn't emphasize the run game, of a bad offensive line, and the fact that Zach Charbonnet behind him probably would matched his production there and matched his talent in the same retrospect. I don't think Ken Walker is underappreciated. There's just not enough carries to go around, and neither the offensive emphasis to get him the ball as enough as he needed. I don't think it's because they don't appreciate him enough. And he also hasn't earned, with the injuries he's gone through, hasn't earned the sort of appreciation to be a 200 carry bell cow because he physically can't do that.
Does the fact they drafted a running back in this draft, granted it was the 7th round with Damian Martinez, does that speak any volumes?
No, I don't think so. I think they're going to get all these guys into camp and worry about everything else after the fact.
There was just talks for a while about could Ken Walker get traded. Now, the fact that the draft's passed maybe lessens those chances a decent bit. But I don't know, man. Like they seem to really like Zach Charbonnet and what he did once he got on the field last year. Obviously, Ken Walker had to battle through a lot of injuries, and if he's healthy, we know how good he can be and the home run hitter he can be. We saw him nearly win Offensive Rookie of the Year back in 22. But I just wonder if Charbonnet's passed him by at all. So if he's passed him by, maybe that's a way you could spin this to say Walker's underappreciated because you'd be talking about a 1,000-yard back that could be a number 2 back in the system. I don't know. The running back room is going to be really interesting come 25 this year because there's going to be a lot of roles to play out between basically 4 running backs.
Question number 3. Hey, do you think we've heard enough from Aaron Rodgers this offseason?
One thing out of Aaron Rodgers' mouth, period, is too much. But sure, TJ, why don't you fill everybody in on what he's up to this weekend?
Well, instead of, again, signing with an NFL team this weekend, which could put to rest this entire offseason, and we can finally stop talking about it, instead he went on another podcast.
I'm shocked.
And he was asked if he would consider signing with the Chicago Bears. He laughed and said no, but he did say that he thought he would, roughly, I'd say these are his words, would play for a team that would go visit the Chicago Bears this season. Oh, preferably late in the season. That team, I would assume, is the Pittsburgh Steelers. I feel like he just needs to make it happen at this point.
Well, and Matt LaFleur was on Up and Adams with Kay Adams just the other day as well, and he also said, yeah, if I had to guess, Aaron Rodgers is going to be a Steeler. I haven't heard, said the Packers head coach. It's not like he has inside info, but he said if I had to guess, he's going to be a Steeler. Salk's talked about...
Where else is he going to go?
Nowhere, but as Salk's talked about, and I'll relay the same thing, if you're the Pittsburgh Steelers, why are you letting this guy run your life? Why are you letting him control you? Like, move on. Pick somebody else to play quarterback.
And there's reports out there that the Steelers do have their backup plan, quote unquote, and have talked to the Falcons about Kirk Cousins because he's with Michael Penix starting in Atlanta. He's clearly available, and that salary is available. I feel like Kirk Cousins is a better option for the Steelers and what they need than signing Aaron Rodgers and whatever drama he's going to drag there this season. I can't see why in the year 2025 why a team is still chasing after Aaron Rodgers and making them a priority when the Steelers could sit here and they could end their offseason right now and say, all right, we're good. We did exactly what we want to do. Don't need anything else. We got our quarterback. We got Kirk Cousins. And instead they continue to play this long game with Aaron Rodgers. Who do you think's holding out more? Is it you think it's Rodgers holding out more, not the Steelers? Dude, Steelers have an offer on the table for him.
Does Aaron Rodgers even want to play football, or does he just like the drama?
He should just no.
I mean, he was on another podcast recently too, which we don't have to get into all the things he said on that, but you know, it didn't really differ that much from the things that usually come out of his mouth these days. If you're the Steelers, how are you letting this guy run your life? Bringing him in would be a nightmare.
Yeah, I can't echo that enough. That's Blue 88. I can't.
I mean, think about this.
I can't stand Aaron Rodgers.
No, neither can I. Neither can Saul. Clearly, neither can a lot of people. The Steelers had to move on from their killer bees locker room, a.k.a. what was a few years ago. Antonio Brown, Le'Veon Bell, Ben Roethlisberger, which was documented plenty, all the nightmares that caused. You want a locker room of Aaron Rodgers, DK Metcalf, and, well, George Pickens is gone, but it was going to be Pickens.
Oh, it would have been quite the trio. But Rodgers alone is more of a headache than the Triple Bs ever were.
No, that's not true. The Killer Bees?
While they were there. I mean, AB has taken quite a few steps since then.
I don't think AB was exactly a walk in the park to deal with when he was in Pittsburgh either. No. There's a reason they traded the guy that was tabbed the best receiver in football for like a 5th rounder.
TJ Matthewson and Lyle Goldstein from the Marine Layer Podcast filling in for Brock and Salk. You can get us wherever you get your podcasts. We're also at Marine Layer Pod on all of our social media channels. Coming up next, we just spent the last hour talking about the Mariners pitching staff. Now let's shift to the offense. Which offense are we believing in? The April offense or the May offense? We'll talk about that and more next when we return on Seattle Sports and the Seattle Sports app.
Wyman and Bob, afternoons 2 to 7.
What if the Mariners were fully healthy? They had their full complement of everybody in the rotation. You had Robles, you had Rayleigh, Brash from the start of the year, I guess. 2. All of those guys are only worth 2 wins?
They're getting it done in a different kind of way. I mean, yeah, I think everything has worked out for a reason.
Dave Wyman and Bob Stelton, afternoons 2 to 7 on Seattle Sports, the app, YouTube, and your smart speaker.
Feeling lucky? Don't miss the Lucky Classic Collector Car Truck and Boat Auction, Saturday, May 31st at Tacoma's LeMay Marymount Event Center. Hundreds of cars, vintage, muscle, exotic, classics, trucks, boats, and more. Saturday, May 31st at Tacoma's LeMay Marymount Event Center. Millions of dollars in inventory, many must sell with no reserve whatsoever. Get lucky, get local, and get in line for the Northwest's greatest collector car auction. Auction details at luckyoldcar.com.
Emerald Queen Casino Event Center presents the main event. Powered by WFC, Saturday night, June 14th. A night of professional boxing where champions are made and every punch counts. Contenders from the region go toe-to-toe, ready to prove they belong at the top. Tickets at emeraldqueen.com. Don't miss Fight Night, June 14th at Emerald Queen Casino, the boxing capital of the Northwest. 21 and older, need gambling help? Call 800-547-6133 or visit emeraldqueen.com.
For tank and tankless hot water heaters, for clogged drains, for leaky faucets, for toilets that won't flush. Stop freaking and call Beacon. Beacon Plumbing, Heating, and Mechanical is your trusted source to solve all your plumbing needs. 1-800-FREAKIN' or beaconplumbing.net.
We all hear the radio ads about the IRS. They tell you to be afraid, to be scared, and they try to frighten you into calling. I'm not here to do that. Tax Relief Advocates is different. TRA is here to tell you that if you owe money to the IRS, whether it's $5,000, $50,000, or $500,000, we have a solution. It doesn't matter if you're sitting in your car, at work, or with your kids. No matter where you are, call now. 800-575-8157. Don't lose hope. TRA can eliminate or reduce what you owe to the IRS. Generous programs are now available that can give you a fresh start. Our passion is taxes and helping individuals fix their IRS problems. We have over 1,000 5-star reviews on Google and an A+ with the Better Business Bureau. You don't need to be afraid of the IRS any longer. End your tax nightmare today by visiting us online at TRA.com or call 800-575-8157. That's 800-575-8157. Tax Relief Advocates. Real solutions for real people.
Get 0% financing for 72 months on Cat compact construction equipment at NC Machinery. Built for performance, durability, and comfort. Buy now and take advantage of 0% financing for 72 months at NC Machinery.
The first Mariners Fireworks Night is coming up, and we're starting things off with a bang. Be here this Friday for our K-Pop Fireworks Show, presented by T-Mobile, after the team takes on the Twins at 7:10.
Jorge Polanco, his second home run of the night. He is absolutely on fire.
Get ready for an epic dance party as we light up the sky with a post-game show powered by the biggest global hits. Fireworks and Mariners baseball. That's 2 spectacular shows in one unforgettable night.
JP with a flip, and they got him at first base.
Visit mariners.com/fireworks to get your tickets and see the complete lineup of all 6 Mariners Fireworks Nights this summer, including a sing-along show on June 13th and a patriotic palooza on July 3rd. Plus, check out everything else on deck at T-Mobile Park, like 3 straight Mariners value games against the Orioles starting Tuesday, June 3rd. Mariners baseball. Try dance up.
I've always been a super athletic guy, but after I turned 40, I noticed I was slowing down. Instead of hitting the gym after work, I spent my evenings on the couch with a bag of chips. I was gaining weight, losing muscle, and when I did try to work out, I ran out of energy right away. One of my buddies suggested I book a free testosterone check at Revive Health, and that's when I learned that low T doesn't just impact how guys perform in the bedroom. I worked with a provider to create my custom treatment plan, and today I'm feeling stronger than ever. Last week, I even set a new PR at the gym. My only regret is not reaching out sooner.
If you're ready to book your free T-check, visit ReviveMen'sHealth.com or call 206-529-1111. Again, that's 206-529-1111.
Eric Johnson here. I covered a lot of accidents over the past 30 years or so, but I never got to say much about what to do after a crash. Be honest, do you know what evidence to collect, what pictures to take, what documents to request, or what you shouldn't say to your insurance company? The Washington Accident Book Series is a must-have for drivers who want to be prepared for whatever the roads throw at them. Know your rights and how to avoid common mistakes after an accident by getting your free copy at WashingtonAccidentBooks.com.
This is Seattle Sports.
Streaming through the Seattle Sports app.
KIRO AM Seattle. KIRO FM HD2 Tacoma. Home of the Seahawks, Mariners, and everything Seattle sports.
Give me a freaking auto!
From the Quantum Fiber Studio, this is Brock and Salk on Seattle Sports.
Brock Heward and Matt Marcus. Sorry about Mike.
Heward, not exactly Joe Cap there in the pocket.
Now here are your hosts, Brock Heward and Mike Salk.
TJ Mathewson and Lyle Goldstein from the Marine Layer podcast, filling in for Brock and Salk here on Memorial Day. We've seen two different versions of the Mariners offense so far this season. We've seen an April offense. We've seen a May offense. The April offense was something that people have been just clamoring for years. High contact, low strikeouts. They've walked. They hit a bunch of home runs. This offense in the month of May has looked closer to some offenses we've seen in the past. Mariners have gotten a lot of production in the past month from Cal Raleigh. They've gotten good production from Rowdy Tellez, from Randy Arozarena, from Julio Rodriguez, but they haven't gotten much from the rest of the Mariners roster. As you've gotten some time, Lyle, to sit here and digest your thoughts about what we've seen through 2 months of Mariners offensively, what do you think? What do you feel like is real? What do you feel like is going to be the trend going forward?
Well, what's real? I think you can point to some players that are real. I think Cal Raleigh, now what he does throughout the course of a year, we'll see. Is he going to be top 5 in baseball in WRC+? Because he currently is, which, by the way, the list of top hitters by WRC+ in baseball, it goes as follows. Judge, Ohtani, Freddie Freeman, Cal Raleigh. Like, listen to that list.
I don't think if you told Cal Raleigh at the beginning of the season, he believes that.
But, and you can pinpoint to some other guys who have been really good, between Randy, between Julio started to pick it up a little bit. Look, I think this team's going to hit home runs and they're going to walk, and I think even with the higher contact, the identity of this offense will still be home runs and walks. The other side of that is the month of May, things have not just come back to earth, but been a pretty tough month at the plate offensively. The team for the month, by the numbers, they're 24th in the league in OPS in the month of May. They're 26th in batting average. They're 20th in runs scored. I think we knew there was going to be some regression from April, but this scenario right here is where the fear starts to come in, which is, can this offense and the way this roster is built, especially when you factor in the injuries, sustain for 6 months of a big league season? We saw it for 1, and now we've seen a month of May that looks a little bit different, to put it lightly.
I still do think the roster, even with the injuries, they can be at least league average to slightly above league average offensively with all their current injuries of Luke Raley, Luke Raley, Ryan Bliss, Victor Robles. Donovan Solano's not in that injured category. He's just not been good offensively this season. Because you look at the month of May, right, and you try and get a picture, okay, why have they struggled offensively in the month of May? I will highlight a few guys I think that are the biggest contributors to the reason the offense has struggled. And these guys are all really good in the month of April. Here are 3 names I'm going to circle, and they're 3 of the bigger names on this roster. J.P. Crawford's number 1. He was excellent in the month of April. The month of May, J.P. Crawford hasn't been bad. He's been exactly league average offensively. Another guy I'm going to point to is Dylan Moore. You and I had the conversation on our podcast about Dylan Moore. It's like, hey, is this new approach getting to him? Is Dylan Moore going to start swinging and missing less? Is the power going to tick up? Is the contact rate going to tick up? Is Dylan Moore going to be a more productive player offensively? Well, Dylan Moore in the month of May has come back to earth a little bit, and he's now striking out 35% of the time in the month of May. Not great, and much higher than it was in the month of April. And the last guy I will point out is Jorge Polanco. Jorge Polanco in the month of April was the second best hitter in the American League behind Aaron Judge. In the month of May, he has been almost 60 points below league average as a hitter. He has shown the two extremes of what he is offensively at this point so far this season. The stats of the year still look pretty good, but the month of May, it said, hey, it's been a little hot and cold for Jorge Polanco so far. If you just get those three guys, Lyle, and you say, okay, all three of these guys, instead of doing what they did for the month of May, are going to be 10% above league average. That offense all of a sudden looks different, and it looks closer to the April offense.
I think we're looking at different guys. Now, you make good points, and that probably does have some merit to it, that if you get those guys going again, yeah, it does look like a different offense. The other side to that coin is it fair to ask J.P. Crawford what he did in April to pick some level of that up all year? That's going to be tough.
I don't think it's unrealistic to ask JP to be 15 points better than what he's currently doing.
But there's going to be some months where he's about a league average hitter, and that's normal, where if he has some months where he's good, especially after what he did in April, and then he has some months where he's around the league average range or slightly above it, that's going to spit out a really good season for J.P. Crawford. And I think J.P. Crawford's going to provide value all season. I don't think he's just going to fall off a cliff again the way he did in 24.
Okay, then maybe the biggest one is Jorge Polanco.
Yeah, and we'll get into him more later at 8:30 because there's a lot of Jorge Polanco conversation that needs to be had, and it involves some of the prospects as well. It's a conversation that all ties in a variety of ways, which we will get to at 8:30. Again, it's about Jorge Polanco, it's about Cole Young, it's about Harry Ford. It can go a lot of different directions. I still look at the bottom of this lineup. Let's say JP's hitting, right? And you feel great about the top half of the lineup. You have JP Crawford, you have Julio, Cal Raleigh, you have Randy Arozarena. Great. And those guys are your anchors. What about when you get to the second half of the lineup? I mean, you're looking at Mitch Garver, you're looking at Miles Mastroboni, you're looking at Donovan Solano, you're looking at Ben Williamson. As a whole, you can look at Leody Taveras. Last 7 games or so, he's been really good, and he's starting to square the ball up a lot more. I'll even stick with those first 4. Garver, Mastroboni, Solano, Williamson. Those guys are playing a lot of games. Those are not just bench bats.
No.
They're playing a significant role on the team right now, and unfortunately, all of them are really struggling to put up offensive production, and that's a whole half of your lineup.
Yeah, on a given day in the month of May, some combination of those players combine to be well below league average as a collective unit, and again, it's like 5 spots in a row. Some days, Rowdy Tellez will be right in the middle of that, but some days he's not.
And even when he is, look, Rowdy's look, he's been a nice surprise for the team. He has tapped into his power. He's come up with some big hits. First base as a whole has still been negative value-wise when you factor in wins above replacement. When you look at Rowdy's overall value and you look at Solano's overall value, it has been a negative value position. So when you look at first base, you look at third base, you look at second base in a lot of ways, the questions people had going into the year about the infield are still very much relevant. And with a lot of the injuries that are happening within your offensive roster right now, these don't seem to be going away because with Robles, Raley, and Bliss not coming back anytime soon, the guys we're highlighting are going to keep playing unless either there's reinforcements that are brought up through the farm system or via trade. And I don't think anything's happening via trade for at least another 6 to 7 weeks. So they're going to have to tread water with the guys they have. And that's why this concern of mine comes up about, can they get back closer to the league average range in June? Was May just a down month and they'll find a way to swing the pendulum back up? Or is this going to continue with the way the lineup's structured?
You do really only have one in-house option to upgrade, to theoretically upgrade, because we haven't seen him at the big league level yet, and that's Cole Young. And we'll talk a little bit more about Cole Young at 8:30. But Cole Young, really, when you look at your organization in terms of fit, that's the only guy you can insert in and say, all right, reinforcement is coming before the trade deadline. That we can say for certain. Everyone else is going to have to find a way. Here's what I ask. Don't be terrible.
Right.
You can be below average. You can manage below average if you get great production from Cal. We know Julio's unbelievable hot streak is coming soon where he could play like a top 3 player in baseball. We know J.P. Crawford has the ability to bounce back. Randy Arozarena has been really good this year, and we know he's incredibly streaky as well and can get even hotter than he is. Can someone just compliment those guys? Can you do what you do well and you get on base in front of them and help the Mariners score runs and ultimately go out there and win games?
We get one text from the 509, and they say, guys, Ben Williamson's a rock star in the corner over at third base. Look, Ben Williamson, we know, has the chance to be a really good defender and to play some great defense over at third. He's got a 564 OPS right now. That's your everyday third baseman. And they don't really have another solution. And the result of that is something we'll talk about in 20 minutes here about Jorge Polanco. Not only do they not have another solution at third base, but Ben Williamson is your everyday guy, and he's just not hitting. So you're going to have to, again, have him go out there and get some half-decent offensive production from him until you can hypothetically upgrade at the trade deadline. Again, that's 2 months of potentially well below average offensive production.
We'll talk a little bit more about this offense coming up at 8:30. A whole lot of scenarios to go with calling up guys in the minor leagues, how they deal with the Jorge Polanco situation, etc., and how this offense goes forward through the final 4 months of this season. TJ Mathewson and Lyle Goldstein from the Marine Layer podcast, filling in for Brock and Salk. You can find us wherever you get your podcasts. You can follow us all over social media at Marine Layer Pod. But coming up next, we'll give you everything you need to know, including all the results over the weekend for the Mariners, the NBA, and the NHL playoffs on Brock and Salk, Seattle Sports, and the Seattle Sports app.
Bump and Stacy, weekdays 10 to 2.
The bar is set a little higher than it used to be. What's been most impressive to me this whole year is just how they've been playing on the road this year. Second most wins in MLB. And you're winning in ways that we did not expect. But Dan has said it. You said it. I heard Jerry say the other day as well. They win in multiple ways. And if you want to be a good baseball team, that's what you have to do.
Bump and Stacy, weekdays 10 to 2 on Seattle Sports, the app, YouTube, and your smart speaker.
Rick Riz here for the Pella Windows and Doors of Western Washington's Improve Your Play program. Many of our local youth sports teams need help with field enhancements, training, and equipment. Local Pella owners Keith Dashafy and Luke Wilson are stepping up to donate $5,000 to 2 deserving teams. We need your help finding them. Head to seattlesports.com/play to nominate a deserving team in need. Let's help our local youth improve their play this year with Pella Windows and Doors of Western Washington. Contest and rules at seattlesports.com/play.
Warmer weather, more sunlight, and your new car. That's right. At Toyota of Kirkland and Toyota of Renton, summer starts here. With their combined inventory of new, used, and certified pre-owned inventory, you're in for a summer to remember. Their fantastic teams will set you up with a test drive so you can ride off into that summer sun the same day. Summer starts here at Toyota of Kirkland and Toyota of Renton. Whether you're in the north or the south, they got you covered. Visit their incredible showrooms today or online at toyotaofkirkland.com and toyotaofrenton.com.
O'Brien. Emerald Queen Casino, the entertainment capital of the Northwest. The best place to watch all your favorite sports. Featuring wall-to-wall viewing screens, 6 windows, and 30 kiosks. Be there at emeraldqueen.com. Emerald Queen Casino, the entertainment capital of the Northwest.
If you're 55 and up, T-Mobile has plans built just for you. 2 lines of unlimited for just $30 a line. That's a 45% savings compared to Verizon and AT&T. But don't just take our word for it.
It's not just the savings that are great with our T-Mobile plan. There's all this value from all these other things that T-Mobile offers.
T-Mobile has been such a savings for us.
We love it. Switch today and get 2 free 5G phones like the Motorola Edge with Turbo Power charging that gives you power for the day in just 15 minutes. And customers 55 and up can get 2 lines of talk, text, and data for only $30 a line. Go to T-Mobile.com/55 to learn more. With 24 monthly bill credits and 2 new lines with autopay for well-qualified customers plus taxes, fees, and $35 per line connection charge. Credits end and balance due if you pay off early or cancel. Contact us plus $5 per line without autopay. Debit or bank account required. 45% off 2 lines versus AT&T Starter and Verizon Welcome. Plan benefits vary. See details at T-Mobile.com. Motorola Edge requires 68-watt charger. Chargers sold separately. Actual performance will vary based on usage and configuration.
An Aussie trekker travels to America to hike an epic trail.
It was rocky, it was imposing.
But Eric Robinson never made it to the end. I'm Dave Cawley. Follow my podcast, Uinta Triangle, UINTA, on Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen.
Get in the zone, AutoZone.
Welcome to Bundle Deal Days at AutoZone.
Well, I do need a bundle of things.
When you bundle, you save.
Do I save if I bundle oil with an oil filter?
Save up to $12 on that bundle.
What about brake pads and rotors?
Bundle those and the brake pads are free.
Can't save more than free.
You can save on hundreds of deals during Bundle Deal Days. Ends June 2nd at AutoZone.
Get in the zone, AutoZone.
Restrictions apply. Duralast brake pads only.
I'm Ed Evans, CEO of Consumer Cellular. No, we're not one of the big guys. Truth is, we don't want to be. If you're over 50, Big Wireless probably has you paying for more data than you might need. You could be throwing away thousands over a lifetime. We're not here to be the biggest. We're here to bring you something we believe is better. Our plans start at just $20. You'll get the same fast nationwide coverage without the big wireless bill.
Call 1-888-FREEDOM, visit consumercellular.com/facts or a store near you. Plans include $5 credit for auto pay and e-billing. See site for additional facts.
4 down territory, going inside the game with Michael Bumpus.
I like this. More quarterbacks should start doing this.
Every day at 11:15 and 1:15 on Bump and Stacy.
1-877 Cars for Kids. KARS Cars for Kids. 1-877 Cars for Kids. Donate your car today.
Donate today at carsforkids.org. That's cars with a K. Your car can be picked up as soon as the next day. Receive a tax deduction and vacation voucher.
1-877 Cars for Kids. Donate your car today.
Now accepting donations of land, homes, buildings, or any kind of real estate.
They say teachers don't impact for a year, but for a lifetime. Hi, this is Rick Riz. Join WSECU, your local credit union, as we celebrate those who give so much with the Teacher of the Week program. Nominate a teacher you feel has changed a life in our community. Each week throughout the season, we'll honor one teacher with a $500 grant, courtesy of WSECU. Teachers are the real MVPs. Find out more and nominate a teacher at mynorthwest.com/teacher.
Hey, Mike Salk here, and great news. This August, luxury awaits at Snoqualmie Casino and Hotel. Yes, the hotel is finally opening. You can book now for an unforgettable summer experience at snocasino.com. Breathtaking views of the Cascades in Snoqualmie Valley, an expanded non-smoking gaming floor, awesome destination spa, a 2,000-seat entertainment space and convention center, and yes, new food venues, restaurants as well. You can book at snocasino.com. Seattle's closest. It's now Snoqualmie Casino and Hotel.
Bump here. Celebrate Memorial Day weekend at the West Hills Ford Beach Party. Enjoy summer vibes, games, and prizes, including a Traeger grill with vehicle purchase, Amazon gift cards with test drive, and enter to win a tropical getaway. Plus, during the Ford From America for America event, enjoy employee pricing on many new Ford models. Join the beach party at West Hills Ford, just off of Auto Centerway exit, Highway 3, Bremerton. Part of the Hazelwood Auto Group. Hazelwood has it all.
Need to know.
15 minutes past every hour with Brock and Salk.
Here's what you need to know. Up first.
Not a whole lot of positives from this weekend specifically for the Mariners. They fall in Houston. They lose 3 of 4. Lose George Kirby's season debut on Thursday, win Friday, lose Saturday and Sunday. We can look at some positives, though, because Cal Raleigh and Julio Rodriguez came up clutch in the 7th inning on Friday's game in a 5-3 win. Julio with a game-tying double, and Cal with a go-ahead home run in the 7th inning off the foul pole in right field. Cal Raleigh has been incredibly clutch this season, and Cal himself talked after the game about what has allowed him to hit for power and hit in general in clutch spots this season.
I think it's just trusting it, trusting what kind of player you are, and you got to understand yourself and understand what works for you in those big moments, because the heart rate goes up and the game can speed up on you, and just understanding that really we just need to hit. We don't really need to try to hit homer, but those things happen. Pitcher really throws those. They make a mistake, got to make them pay, and especially in this league. So, and he's a tough pitcher. He's really he's been really good the last couple of years, and he's a good one. So when he does make a mistake, you got to take advantage.
Heard a great quote from our friend Joe Doyle on our podcast about what's allowed Cal Raleigh to be so good this year. Joe said it looks like Cal's more prepared than ever to hit at the plate, which is amazing to see and makes a ton of sense of why he's been so good.
Well, and along with the fact that when he's hitting from the right side, his ability to hit changeups from the right side has really taken a jump forward this year. It seems like something he's clearly worked on, and the results of that have just been steps on steps better than where it's been in years past. Now, that home run on Friday was not right-handed. It was very much a left-handed home run, considering it nearly left the building with how high it went. That was a skyscraper of a bomb from Cal Raleigh. But overall, it just speaks volumes to what he's done at the plate this year and what he's done across the league, considering he's been one of the 5 best bats in baseball.
Here's the second thing you need to know.
The Mariners got some good news on Saturday with both Bryce Miller and Logan Gilbert getting back up on the mound, both through sim games, about 2 innings and 50 pitches apiece. Each mixed in some off-speed, including some splitters. Logan Gilbert seemed like he was the one that was being a little bit more cautious with his splitter usage as opposed to Bryce. Logan's reasoning for not throwing his splitter as much because they're trying to work him back and saying, hey, I understand the stress this puts on my elbow. I don't want to overthrow it while I'm working my way back. I'll primarily work on my fastballs and some other less stressful off-speed pitches. Bryce Miller said he hadn't been throwing it as much because he hadn't felt as comfortable with that pitch working into Saturday, but he did mix a few of them in. He does expect, Bryce said, he's hoping the next time he gets out on a mound and throws live, it is in a game for the Mariners. Logan Gilbert, though, needs a couple of more outings before he's good to come back.
This is such a nice sign from Logan Gilbert, who you're not always sure about players bouncing back from what starts as forearm tightness and then turns to a flexor strain like Logan Gilbert's dealing with. Just as a reminder, this is what happened 2 years ago from Robbie Ray, and he ended up getting Tommy John. Now, the two scenarios are different because Logan Gilbert is bouncing back much, much better from this than Robbie Ray ever was. He's taken all the right steps. He's on the right path. If this continues, he's going to get out of this totally clean and get back into the rotation, and the Mariners could desperately use him.
Here's the third thing you need to know.
Entertaining day yesterday in the NBA playoffs. The New York Knicks come back down 20 to win Game 3 over the Pacers, 106-100. That'll guarantee a Game 5 that the Knicks will play back in Madison Square Garden. I am really enjoying the post-game Knicks content from every game this playoff series. I want them to stay in the playoffs as long as possible so we get to see it. I mean, even them winning a second-round series and having people climb up on the gigantic video boards outside of Madison Square Garden to celebrate, and the people bringing the speakers, and Spider-Man comes out, and all the microphones and out, or people are screaming like, "Ah! How about the Knicks?" I just need that to continue. Indiana's just not as fun, and neither is OKC or Minnesota.
Nobody does it like New York Knicks fans. Again, if you guys need any Knicks content to watch, go watch a certain account. It's called Side Talk. You can find it anywhere on social media. When these dudes win, either against the Celtics, against the Sixers, or any time in the postseason, videos go up, and it is absolutely worth all your time.
Panthers in the NHL. Florida Panthers up 3-0 over the Carolina Hurricanes, looking for their third straight trip to the Stanley Cup Finals. The Edmonton Oilers leading in the Western Conference Series 2-1 over the Dallas Stars. Game 4 of that series is on Tuesday. In the Kraken front, not much to update on the Kraken head coaching search. 3 Kraken members, though, did contribute to Team USA winning the Ice Hockey World Championship in Stockholm, Sweden over the weekend. Matty Beniers, Mikey Esmont, and Joey Decord. That's everything you need to know. 1/4 every hour here on the Brock and Salk Show.
God, New York Knicks, I got to tell you.
How about the Knicks? Maybe for the next need to know, let's roll in some PG sound that we can play. Think we can find some?
It's PG? I doubt it. But all I will say is, for those who have heard the term bing bong, that is where that stemmed from. It's from these Side Talk videos.
Yeah. It's a good statement.
Great statement.
I'll say that.
I hope the Knicks keep winning.
I hope they keep winning, too. Coming up next, we have some more Mariners offense to talk about. How does this Jorge Polanco situation specifically affect the Mariners lineup, and how are they going to deal with it going forward? What can they potentially do to offset some of the issues it causes? We'll talk about that and more next. TJ Mathewson and Lyle Goldstein from the Marine Layer podcast, filling in for Brock and Salk on Seattle Sports and the Seattle Sports app.
Wyman and Bob, afternoons 2 to 7.
What if the Mariners were fully healthy? They had their full complement of everybody in the rotation. You had Robles, you had Rayleigh, Brash from the start of the year, I guess. 2. All of those guys are only worth 2 wins?
They're getting it done in a different kind of way. I mean, yeah, I think everything is worked out for a reason.
Dave Wyman and Bob Stelton, afternoons 2 to 7 on Seattle Sports, the app, YouTube, and your smart speaker.
Hey friends, it's Stacy with a little bit of inside info. I know there are a lot of local business owners listening right now this message is for you. Wayscar Ford is running great pricing on all of their commercial vehicles, trucks, Super Duties, Isuzu FTRs, box trucks. The bigger, the better, and they have a ton of them. New and used models and a ton of 2025 models. I'm on their website right now. Here's one, $11,000 off. Another for $19,000 off. Wayscar Ford just expanded their heavy truck shop, and there are a ton of opportunities. They're looking for mechanics if anyone listening has heavy truck experience. Join a wonderful company at a dealership that's been in Auburn for 103 years. Take advantage of the amazing inventory and deals they have right now. Commercial sales and service for both Ford and Isuzu. A great option for people, a great option for families, and now business owners. I'm a proud customer. I know you will be too. Wayscar Ford, Isuzu in Auburn. WayscarFord.com. That's WayscarFord.com.
Saving for retirement was tough enough for us.
Yes, and navigating markets can be challenging at times.
I understand. That's why at Fisher Investments, we take a disciplined approach with your investments.
Tell us more about that.
We take an active approach to money management, positioning your portfolio for opportunities we see ahead.
So all your clients get the same portfolio?
No, we tailor your portfolio to your individual goals and needs.
What about communication? We don't like being left in the dark.
We check in regularly to keep you informed on the markets and your portfolio.
Which means you'll help us stay on track.
Yes, our goal is your comfortable retirement. And as a fiduciary, we always put your interests first, because we do better when you do better. At Fisher Investments, we're clearly different. Learn more at FisherInvestments.com.
Investing in securities involves the risk of loss.
Now more than ever, Lowe's knows you don't just want a low price, you want the lowest price. And with our lowest price guarantee, you can count on us for competitive prices on all your home improvement projects. If you find a qualifying lower price somewhere else on the same item, we'll match it. Lowe's, we help, you save. Price match applies to same item. Current price at qualifying retailers. Exclusions and terms apply. Learn how we'll match price at lowes.com/lowest price guarantee.
Progressive knows there are some surprisingly expensive things in life, like fences. A house with a big yard and a white picket fence was always the dream. But then you saw the price to install a fence and you're wondering if the color is driving the price up. Nobody ever dreams of a beige or a gray picket fence, right? So maybe those fences are cheaper. But no, they're not. Then you remember that switching your home and auto to Progressive could save you hundreds and make all your dreams of a fence come true. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company affiliates and other insurers not available in all states.
When businesses thrive, communities score. That's why Bank of America is the official bank of FIFA Club World Cup here in Seattle. And our more than 95 local business specialists are ready to help your business win. What would you like the power to do? Learn more at bankofamerica.com/local business. Bank of America, official bank of FIFA Club World Cup 2025. Bank of America Corporation, all rights reserved.
We are Seattle Sports, the home of the Seahawks, Mariners, and everything Seattle sports.
Watch your favorite show live at seattlesports.com.
Throw down to second base, tagged by JP on the money, and he is out.
Home. Home is your domain, where you know every inch like the back of your hand.
Julio racing back out of the warning track, but he makes the catch, and he flashes to the no-fly zone.
A place that brings out your protective side, and a place you'll always stand up for.
Going, it will fly away.
Because what's inside is the most valuable thing in the world. Your family. Mariners baseball at T-Mobile Park. Welcome home.
The Mariners are back in town this week for a 9-game homestand, and the fun kicks off with a 3-day Randy Arozarena bobblehead giveaway tomorrow through Thursday against the Nationals. All 3 games are Mariners value games, which means you can score seats starting at just $11. Get your tickets today at mariners.com.
Feeling lucky? Don't miss the Lucky Classic Collector Car Truck and Boat Auction, Saturday, May 31st at Tacoma's LeMay Marymount Event Center. Hundreds of cars, vintage, muscle, exotic, classics, trucks, boats, and more. Saturday, May 31st at Tacoma's LeMay Marymount Event Center. Millions of dollars in inventory, many must sell with no reserve whatsoever. Get lucky, get local, and get in line for the Northwest's greatest collector car auction. Auction details at luckyoldcar.com.
Heading to the ball game? Don't mess with traffic and pricey parking fees. Make it easy and ride the bus. It's affordable and convenient. No stress, no hassle. And plenty of time to grab a hot dog before first pitch. Community Transit makes riding the bus fun, easy, and affordable. You save money on parking, and kids under 18 ride for free. See where they can take you and plan your trip today. Go to Community Transit at ctgo.org/home run.
From the Quantum Fiber Studio.
This is Brock and Salk.
Weekdays 6 to 10.
On Seattle Sports and 97.3 FM HD2.
TJ Matthewson and Lyle Goldstein from the Marine Layer podcast, filling in for Brock and Salk on Memorial Day. You can find us wherever you get your podcasts. We're on YouTube. You can follow us all over social media at Marine Layer Pod. The dichotomy of the two different versions of this Mariners offense, the one we saw in April versus the one we saw in May, there's a whole lot of factors that go into what makes an offense do that, and we highlighted a couple of them at the top of the hour. I think there's one guy who stands above the rest in terms of his impact on the difference between April and May, and it is right there looking at his stats month to month, and that is Jorge Polanco. There's a lot of layers to this Jorge Polanco situation, his health, his bat. Where should we start here? Do we want to just start with his bat?
Sure, and I think the month of May highlights where the concern stems from, because after an April where he lit the world on fire, he looked like an all-star in the month of April for every good reason. The month of May, it was a pretty drastic 180. Jorge Polanco for the month hit under 160, his OPS was under 500, and his WRC plus was more than 50 points below the league average.
And that's after being 160 points above the league, or 140, but regardless, amazing in the month of April. There's a big difference there. That's a pretty big gap. I wouldn't say from like the quality of his swings, not totally concerned, because there are some positives, I'd say, underlying numbers from his month. It's not like his strikeout rate spiked, where it's like, oh, it kind of looks like he did last year. Well, last year he struck out like 30% of the time. In the month of May, he struck out 19% of the time. Nothing really to freak out about there. He was still hitting the ball pretty hard. He still had some productive moments in the month of May. I would say the production just overall wasn't there. It wasn't great. I think the larger concern with Jorge Polanco, who might have some hot and cold months here over the course of his Mariners career and over the course of this season, is the fact that we're now at Memorial Day, and he's still, for the most part, only hitting left-handed. And the only right-handed at-bat we saw from him over this weekend is because the Astros put a lefty in the fifth inning, and they didn't want to pull Jorge Polanco less than halfway through the game, so they left him in, had him hit right-handed, even though he hadn't taken a right-handed at-bat in a game in a couple of weeks at that point, ended up getting out, which wasn't great. They're still not planning to play him in games as a right-handed hitter in the future. We haven't gotten any update of what the status of that knee is, of his side, whatever injury is keeping him from hitting right-handed. It's putting the Mariners in quite a precarious situation where they've essentially sort of pigeonholed him into one singular platoon DH-only role, which shortens what you can do with this roster.
It does. And when you have a month like that, again, guys are going to go through ups and downs throughout a year. Everybody does it. But when you go from lighting the world on fire to having a May where your OPS is under 500, it's hard to not sit and think about how much of that could be injury related because, again, one, that's a drastic drop-off, and two, here's how the timeline of Jorge Polanco's season has gone, right? He starts the year playing a handful of games in the field at third base, and for all everybody could understand, he was healthy enough to begin the year. About 5 games in, he stops playing the field, and then people get the inkling of, oh, he's not really hitting right-handed. When there's a left-handed pitcher that comes into the game, especially mid-game, they yank him out. Now, it felt like a couple weeks ago, again, as we progressed through the Jorge Polanco timeline throughout the year, early May-ish, he started to work his way back in more from both sides for a few games. Then it got shut down again.
And he had one game in the field.
One game in the field.
Yeah.
But then it all got shut down again, and now we're back to where we were for a while here, which is he's only hitting from one side. He's not playing the field. And again, when all that also factors into the month he just had in May, I'm sorry, I can't help but wonder if that knee is still barking.
This is the last update we got from Dan Wilson last week on Jorge Polanco's health.
He's doing fine. He's coming along, and right-handed swings are not too far behind, but we're just taking it slow, and his RBI single early was a big lift for us. I think getting on the board, getting us ahead, giving Louis a little bit of breathing room there on the mound was helpful, and that was a big hit for us early in the game.
I would have to believe he's progressing, but we just don't know where the progression is at. And that's why I'm looking forward to hearing from Justin Hollander tomorrow. I would assume he's going to get asked about Jorge Polanco's health at some point, because people have been trying to get an answer on where he is health-wise and if the knee is going to get better. Because we thought at some point if he's going to be DHing, staying out of the field, and taking pressure off his knee, the knee would get better, but that hasn't really been the case.
And again, that update from Dan Wilson was roughly a week ago. Maybe things have changed in the last week, but it's hard for me respectfully to believe that he's just totally fine, given how he's being deployed right now. Again, he's not playing the field at all. He's essentially not hitting right-handed at all. He is pigeonholed into one very specific role, and he just had a pretty tough month of May.
I have a comp for this Jorge Polanco situation that I want to throw out there and I'm going to get some opinions on. So the Mariners, this spring training, had a roster decision to make with a player in a similar situation to Jorge Polanco. At this point of his career, he was going to be a DH, platoon only, off the bench, which is essentially what Jorge Polanco has been pigeonholed into right now, with a few more starts mixed in because Jorge Polanco had a great month of April. I'm talking about Mitch Haniger. Mitch Haniger, if we're talking about, start with the money reasons, making $15.5 million. Jorge Polanco's making about $8 million. So there's a little bit of a difference there. But the reason that Mitch Haniger was taken off the roster is because they didn't think he could perform for the role he was expected to play, which is to hit lefties and come off the bench and DH. That was his role. That's the only thing he could do on this roster. Now that we watch Jorge Polanco not be able to play the field and not be able to hit right-handed, he's essentially been put in the same role that they feared Mitch Haniger would be stuck in and would put the roster in a tough situation with, where you can only hit from one side, you only can hit when there's one handiness on the mound, and you can only DH at that point. And that really leaves you with somewhat limited options with what you can do when you put that player in the game. For example, if you start Jorge Polanco in the lineup as your DH, as a left-handed hitter, well, as soon as a lefty comes in out of the bullpen, you got to take Jorge Polanco out of the game, and you got to put Mitch Garver in the game. And that's a problem for a number of reasons. Number one, because you would preferably rather have Jorge Polanco as a switch hitter, just hit right-handed and keep his bat in the game because you believe in his bat more than Mitch Garver's. Second, then you put the pressure on Cal Raleigh to stay spotless through the rest of the game and take your backup catcher off the bench and put him in the lineup. And then if you need to put your backup catcher behind the plate, then you burn your DH, and then the pitcher hits.
Right.
See how this can easily cascade into a big problem with this roster.
So let me just say this and preface this for everything you just referenced. The Mariners are not going to move on from Jorge Polanco the way they did Haniger. That's not what we're saying. What we are saying is part of the reason they decided to not keep Mitch Haniger on this roster is to avoid this very type of role. This role that can often force you into some tough decisions with how you maneuver a roster throughout the game. Now they have a guy in that exact role, which is the very thing they were trying to avoid. So like you said, you don't want to get to a situation when you burn your DH. That's how pictures start to pop off all over Twitter again with Luis Castillo in a helmet with a bat in his hands, like what happened last year when they had to burn the DH.
It's not a problem if Jorge Polanco hits like Barry Bonds like he did in the month of April. Then you manage that issue. But he didn't hit like Barry Bonds in the month of May. So you think of, okay, are those struggles... If those struggles continue, how do you deal with this situation? And I'd say the question you think about going forward is, all right, was that a bad luck month? Is that a trend month? Is that the reason he struggled because his knee health is not getting better and it's because it's affecting his swing. That's what I think people are starting to worry about. Is this going to affect him later throughout the season?
If Jorge Polanco had hit 240 for the month of May, and let's call it a 670 OPS, not an unbelievable month, but not a disaster of a month either, I think people would just say, you know what, he started to regress back to the mean. Let's see how June looks. The fact his May has gone so south is, I think, what raises some questions here. Again, for how well Jorge Polanco hit in April, to hit 158 up to this point with a 484 OPS in the month of May just raises some concerns, and concerns about, has the knee gotten worse?
Do you think that the knee will get better?
So there's a couple ways you could go about this if you're the Mariners. You could continue to just play Jorge Polanco in the role he's in and hope this improves and hope that in time he can start to hit right-handed again. But if it doesn't, and you decide that a couple weeks off his feet could be the best course of action, maybe they take that precaution and maybe they take that course of action. But we hashed this out a little bit on the podcast we just released on Monday. Does Jorge Polanco, hypothetically going on the IL for 2 weeks, give that much improvement to his knee? Because he's already off his feet so much to begin with.
No.
Does it do that much?
I don't think it does. I think you need longer than 2 weeks. I don't think 2 weeks solves the problem for Jorge Polanco. Knees aren't something that just magically get better. You could go back 5 years and see what the Mariners tried to do with Kyle Lewis to get his knee healthy. His knee never recovered from injuries. His knee injuries were a little bit more severe than Jorge Polanco's injuries were, but a patella tendon is nothing to scoff at when you have to surgically repair a knee from that and then try and work its way back 4 months after the surgery, roughly. That was about the timeline, right? October, November, December, January, starts getting back on the field in February, and then it's sort of almost more ramped up in March. That's 6 months right there. It's not nothing. Usually you would prefer closer to a 9 to 12 month recovery for that instead of 6.
It's not a perfect comparison, but to use a football reference and a Seahawks reference, this is the same injury that Jimmy Graham had to recover from, and he was never really the same after that.
He was not. And the Mariners don't need Jorge Polanco to be like his 26-year-old self-playing shortstop and being an excellent defender. They just need him to be more usable with his knee. Right now, it's not usable. And right now, I mean, they take what he was doing last year, not at the plate, but the fact that he was able to play in the field last year wasn't good in the field per se, but it does offer them some versatility if he can hit right-handed and go out there and play in the field.
And can offer you some more offense off the bench if you're willing to take the defense that he gives you. With Jorge Polanco being in the situation that he's in right now, again, we talked about Ben Williamson a little bit in the 8 o'clock hour and how it's been a struggle for him offensively. I don't think the idea was ever to have to play Ben Williamson this much. And again, he's got about a 564 OPS right now. Even if you look at his last 15 games or so, it's not like he's lit the world on fire. He's a guy that puts the bat to the ball but doesn't hit with a ton of authority, has struck out a decent amount, has never walked much, not in the minors, and he's not really doing so in the big leagues. So he feels like he's been overexposed a little bit, and with this Polanco injury and the inability to go play third base, you're asking a lot of Ben Williamson, a rookie who, again, they like and they think can be a good defender, but I don't think his offensive ceiling is through the roof by any means, but they also don't have another option. They are going to have Ben Williamson or some combination of Dylan Moore, Miles Mastrobuoni, Leo Rivas, etc., mix in through third base until the trade deadline rolls around, and that's a long 2 months.
I think if they really wanted to, they could stick, for example, Leo Rivas at third base, let him play defense at third base. His defense is pretty comparable to Ben Williamson's defense.
Sure, but Leo Rivas barely plays right now to begin with.
But I can't tell you why that is.
Right, which is interesting because he's been good up to this point in the year.
I don't know how... Personally, from a baseball perspective, when I watch Leo Rivas, I can't think of a reason why he does not play quite as much. But I'll say you will get similar production if you put Leo Rivas at third base instead of Ben Williamson, and you let Ben, the prospect, go down to Tacoma, get some more at-bats against lower-level pitching, and develop a little bit. Because, again, it is about development. You're trying to develop these guys to be better. And Ben right now is not hitting up to snuff at the big league level. And at some point, you are going to need production from that position. And that's where it, again, comes back to We signed Jorge Polanco to play this position, not to have Ben Williamson play every single day at this position when his bat's not ready.
Yeah, and that lasted, unfortunately, about 5 games with Jorge Polanco because he started the first few games of the year at third base. Since then, he hasn't really been back out there. The injury they originally talked about that got him off his feet, they said was a side injury, and that was early in the year. They haven't said exactly what Polanco's injury is, which is one of the biggest question marks around the Mariners right now, I feel like, is what exactly is Jorge Polanco dealing with? But I have to imagine it has something to do with his knee. That's what we're sitting here talking about. I'm not a doctor. You're not a doctor. We were way too dumb to ever be doctors. Let me put that out there. I just have a hard time imagining that the limitations of Jorge Polanco at this point in the year don't have something to do with that knee of his.
Couple of questions coming in on the text line about Cole Young and Harry Ford. I think that's a good transition to talking about these guys and the in-house options to come up and sort of supplement this offense at this point. Should we start with Cole Young?
That's the easiest one, so yeah.
Because Cole Young right now has the easiest path to the big leagues. The Mariners have shuffled around some second basemen this year. It's been Ryan Bliss to start before he got hurt. Then it's Dylan Moore. It's Mastroboni can play second. Leo Rivas has played second. You can play a number of guys at second base. But the way Cole Young is playing at second base in Tacoma and the way he's hitting in Tacoma, he's not long for the PCL. I think he's got at most a month left down there, if not less, before the Mariners decide we want to see what we have here with Cole Young. He has sort of really exceeded expectations in Tacoma from a power perspective, from an on-base perspective. He's walking more than he's striking out in Tacoma. His strikeout rate the last month plus has been less than 10% in Tacoma. He's seeing the ball really well. He's hitting the ball really hard. It's a really good combination to have. So we'll say middle of June for Cole Young.
That feels about right. We do just want to say this to everybody out there that's already saying, yank him up right now. Right now, he's ready to go. We're not the Mariners. We don't know internally exactly where their viewpoint is of Cole Young at this very moment here on Memorial Day. I would say if you were asking the two of us, for as awesome as he's been over the last few weeks, don't yank him up just because you feel, the pressing urge to fill a need.
He's not coming to save the offense.
Right. Make sure Cole Young is ready and he is fully set to go, that when you call him up, you hopefully don't ever have to send him back.
There will be a Tacoma off day on June 16th against the Red Sox. If I'm going to make a prediction when Cole Young comes up, joins the team before they go on the road to Chicago, to Minnesota, and to Texas, I'm going to guess that would be it.
Which would be great because, again, that gives Cole Young roughly a month's time to really hit the way he's hitting down in Tacoma. That way it's not just a 2-week sample. It's not just kind of a flash in the pan. That would be enough of a sample size for the Mariners and everybody to see what he's doing in Tacoma is for real, and he feels ready to take the next jump.
Now, Cole Young's decision is an easy one. He's going to, given he keeps hitting for 2 weeks, stays healthy, again, middle of June, I would predict he's going to come up. He's going to be in this roster, and he's going to be in this lineup every single day. What if Harry Ford keeps hitting?
This is a huge question, I think. It's a huge question mark. I don't know exactly what the Mariners are going to do here with Harry Ford because you're talking about a guy that for as well as he's also hit in Tacoma, he's only still playing one position, which is catcher. He has not played another position this season. He's only played one other position in his minor league career, which was 8 games in left field down in Arkansas last year, which did not go very well from everything we understand. And he'd be in a position where he would probably just be DHing and catching if he were to come up to the big leagues, which, is that the best solution for Harry Ford, to DH?
No, and he wouldn't even play every day if he was catching and DHing.
Right.
If you were to bring Harry Ford up at this point, at age 22, right smack in the middle of his development, he would need to be playing every day at the big league level. It doesn't do Harry Ford any good for his prospect status, for his value, for his bat, for his catching to not be playing every single day at this point. The problem is the Mariners, like you said, have not played him at any other position in the minor leagues. And I don't think his bat is good enough for you to bring him up to the big leagues just a DH. Because what happens if he's only a league average hitter as a DH when you bring him up at age 22? What does that do for you?
Not much. One, it stunts his development because that's a real prospect that's only hitting and not really playing the field, given that you have the best catcher in baseball behind the plate. And it also potentially deteriorates his trade value if you don't get the offensive production that you want out of Harry Ford over, let's call it, a month stretch. Because here's what Harry Ford's done by the way he's played in Tacoma this year. He has re-upped a lot of his potential trade value. At least that's how it seems. We're not within the inner circles of baseball. You would have to ask some GMs what they think of Harry Ford at this current moment and how they view Harry Ford. But if he keeps this up by the end of July, I would have to think there's going to be some teams out there who feel like they need a catcher, who feel like they get a guy on the young side with 6 years of club control at 22 years old who's really hitting all of a sudden that could catch for them moving forward. And maybe that brings back the Mariners something in a trade package that they could really need, whether it's first base, whether it's third base, whether it's a reliever, etc. But if you call up Harry Ford now and he does not hit in the big leagues, are the same teams going to be as interested in Harry Ford?
I think it's to the Mariners' benefit he stays in Tacoma all season at age 22. They don't have to make a decision on Harry Ford until this offseason, which, by the way, since he was drafted in 2021, to avoid getting picked in the Rule 5 draft, which he would be the number one pick in the Rule 5 draft if they didn't put him on the 40-man roster, he's going to have to get put on the 40-man roster sometime between now and the offseason.
Sure. And that would make sense because what happens in that scenario is if Mitch Garver's not back next season, which there is that mutual third option in his third-year option in his contract, I would assume after this year, Garver would probably go play somewhere else. But in that scenario, Harry Ford could at least be the Mariners' backup catcher to Cal Raleigh, which then he'd play a couple times a week, and you figure that scenario out as you go forward. However, for this year and what you do with him in 2025, yeah, to continue to up his value in Tacoma feels like your best option because I'm going to be honest, for those that want Harry Ford up right now to hit in the lineup and be a DH, I just don't know how much of an improvement you're going to get from him in a month's time. So if you're the Mariners, I think it makes sense to just keep letting him play in Tacoma and either get value for him at the trade deadline, get value for him in the offseason in a trade, or have him be the backup catcher starting next year.
The 209 asks a really good question. Isn't he most valuable as a catcher in terms of trade? Yes, and that's premier reason number one why he would just stay in Tacoma, because his value as a catcher doesn't get higher playing at the big league level one time a week. It would playing 6 times a week in Tacoma, where you say, okay, you play your entire 22-year-old year, 22, that's it. He's not old, 22 years old in Tacoma for this entire season. His power develops, his on-base skills continue to develop, which are already as good as almost anyone in baseball, and you get that bat ready for next season. And then he still debuts if you want him on your roster next year at a young 23. 23 is still a very young age for somebody to debut, especially when you draft him out of high school.
By best on-base skills in baseball, you mean like within the minor leagues?
Within the minor leagues. I mean, it's probably in the top 10 in terms of pure on-base skills in the minor leagues. Now, some prospect evaluators would come to you and say, okay, yeah, he's more passive trading off for power, but he's been hitting for a decent amount of power in Tacoma as well, especially over the past month. That's what the Mariners have been looking at the most. His slugging percentage for the season is creeping up near 500.
He's had a really good year. Obviously a hitter-friendly environment, but he's had an awesome season. I still wonder, though, I don't want to say inevitable, but if the path for Harry Ford is to end up being packaged in a trade. Because even next year, if he was going to be your backup catcher, and look, he could be a really good backup catcher. We've seen tandems across baseball where there's 2 really good catchers. But when you have a workhorse like Cal Raleigh, who is now on a large extension, how much is Harry Ford really going to give you?
Large extension and an MVP candidate.
Right.
It's not just that he's good. It's that he is far and away your best player right now.
Which just has me circling back to the idea of if the Mariners need a corner infielder or need a reliever at the trade deadline, is there somebody who'd look at Harry Ford and says, he could really catch for us moving forward and we'll give you the piece back that you need?
Exactly. I mean, it could be the point, but I think at this point for Harry Ford, I don't think he is the headliner of a package. He would be included in a package with somebody else.
Sure.
That's how I see his value right now.
But what this all ties back to as we start to conclude this segment and wrap this up is the Jorge Polanco factor. The reason we're sitting here talking about Harry Ford is because Jorge Polanco's battled with these knee issues and because the offense has struggled in the month of May with a lot of the bottom of the lineup, again, not putting up a ton of production, this Harry Ford conversation has come to light. For example, there's been talks about and discourse about if Jorge Polanco were to have to miss any time and the Mariners tried to get that knee right with him, who would be the solution as a replacement? And people have said, well, what about Harry Ford? How much could he help this offense? if Jorge Polanco was healthy and could hit from both sides of the plate and didn't just have the month of May that he had, I don't know if this Harry Ford conversation would be as relevant.
Would love to hear your guys' thoughts on this subject when we take calls at 9:30. But coming up next, since it's Memorial Day, and we've watched 2 months of this Mariners season, Lyle and I have each written down some Mariners takeaways. You'll have to stay tuned to hear what those are. TJ Mathewson and Lyle Goldstein from the Marine Layer Podcast. Find us wherever you get your podcasts, and find us all over social media at Marine Layer Pod. Happy to sit in for one more hour here on Brock and Salk, Seattle Sports, and the Seattle Sports app.
Bump and Stacy, weekdays 10 to 2.
The bar is set a little higher than it used to be. What's been most impressive to me this whole year is just how they've been playing on the road this year. Second most wins in MLB. And you're winning in ways that we did not expect. But Dan has said it. You said it. I heard Jerry say it the other day as well. They win in multiple ways. And if you want to be a good baseball team, that's what you have to do.
Bump and Stacy, weekdays 10 to 2 on Seattle Sports, the app, YouTube, and your smart speaker.
Get in the zone, AutoZone. Welcome to Bundle Deal Days at AutoZone. Well, I do need a bundle of things. When you bundle, you save. Do I save if I bundle oil with an oil filter? Save up to $12 on that bundle. What about brake pads and rotors? Bundle those and the brake pads are free. Can't save more than free. You can save on hundreds of deals during Bundle Deal Days. Ends June 2nd at AutoZone. Get in the zone, AutoZone. Restrictions apply. Duralast brake pads only.
Now is the perfect time to start on your next success. An accredited state university, University of Maryland Global Campus offers online and hybrid courses. Plus, you can earn up to 90 credits toward a bachelor's for prior learning and work experience, or transfer up to 12 credits toward a master's. No application fee if you apply by May 30th. Learn more at umgc.edu. Certified to operate in Virginia by Chev.
An Australian hiker travels to the American West to walk a wilderness trail.
Wasn't afraid to be out on his own.
But Eric Robinson vanished in the high Uinta Mountains.
I remember thinking, Eric, what were you thinking, mate?
I'm Dave Cawley. Join me on my podcast, Uinta Triangle, where I travel the world to answer the question, what happened to Eric Robinson? Follow Uinta Triangle. That's UINTA Triangle on Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen.
My wife and I have been married for over 15 years, and I've never had any complaints about my performance in the bedroom. But after I turned 40, things started feeling different. I was gaining weight, losing muscle, and I just wasn't interested in sex anymore. My wife told me her friend's husband went through the same thing, and it turns out he had low testosterone. So we booked a free T-check at Revive Health, and that's when I learned that my testosterone levels were low too. We worked with a provider to create a custom treatment plan, and today, my wife and I are having more fun than we did on our honeymoon. My only regret is not reaching out sooner.
If you're ready to book your free T-check, visit ReviveMen'sHealth.com or call 206-529-1111. Again, that's 206-529-1111.
Hey 12s, Steve Rabel here, voice of your Seattle Seahawks. The wait is over, and tickets are on sale now for our historic 50th season. This season is going to be legendary, with past, present, and future colliding at Lumen Field. Get your tickets today at Seahawks.com/tickets.
Everyone has a fave Wendy's Frosty flavor. And when you're choosing from chocolate or vanilla, it's not that hard. But now, there's all new Frosty Swirls and Frosty Fusions. So try picking your fave from... Oreo Brownie Fusion, Pop-Tarts Strawberry Fusion, Strawberry Swirl, Brownie Batter Swirl, Caramel Swirl, and Caramel Crunch Fusion. Not so easy now, huh? For a fresh way to Frosty, gotta be Wendy's.
At participating U.S. Wendy's, Oreo is a trademark of Mondelez International Group. Pop-Tarts is a trademark of Kellogg North America Co., LLC, used with permission.
Thy ticket, Lady Jennifer of Coolidge.
Well, many thanks, good sir. Hereth my Discover card.
They accept Discover at Renaissance fairs?
Yeah, they do here. Discover is accepted at the places I love to shop. Getteth with the times.
With the times?
You're playing the lute. Yeah, and it sounds pretty good, right?
Discover is accepted at 99% of places that take credit cards nationwide.
based on the February 2024 Nielsen report.
Bump here. This weekend, come to the West Hills Chrysler Jeep Dodge Ram Beach Party for games and prizes, including a Traeger grill with vehicle purchase. Plus, get employee pricing on all new Chrysler Jeep Dodge Ram vehicles. Join the beach party at West Hills Chrysler Jeep Dodge Ram.
Hey, Riverside Roofing is offering $1,000 off a new replacement right now. That's huge. $1,000 off. Quite the incentive for homeowners to book their roof replacement right now. It's Mike Salk here, and it really is a great time to do it. These days are getting long, right? Sunsets after 8 o'clock. Crews can get your roof done quick. So take advantage now before demand spikes this summer, making those repairs costly and time-consuming as well. Here's what you got to do to claim your $1,000 off from Riverside Roofing. Book a free estimate from the website, riversideroofingllc.com. And then you'll meet with Brandon, that's Don's son. Just tell him you heard the message here on the radio station. $1,000 back in your pocket, and yes, a brand new roof over your head. And while you're there, ask Brandon about their 35 years of local experience, GAF Master Elite certification, which puts them in the top 3% of roofers in the nation, and of course the catch-all system, which they use to keep your yard and driveway totally free of debris like nails or shingles. Go to riversideroofingllc.com. Remember, Riverside Roofing is the roofing company you can trust.
This Memorial Day, take a few moments to remember the ones who made the ultimate sacrifice. Reverently celebrating Memorial Day with you. Seattle Sports, KIRO AM Seattle, KIRO HD2 Tacoma.
Give me a freaking auto!
From the Quantum Fiber Studio, this is Brock and Salk on Seattle Sports.
Brock Ewert is my hero.
Jay Buhner just punched me in the kidney.
We're going to accuse you of manager.
Doesn't really work that way, Sherm. This is a show that has my name on it.
It kind of does, though.
Now here are your hosts, Brock Ewert and Mike Salk.
TJ Matthewson and Lyle Goldstein from the Marine Layer podcast, filling in for Brock and Salk. Find us wherever you get your podcasts and find us all over social media at Marine Layer Pod. I think this text lays it out pretty well of how we're going to lead in this segment. So Mike Salk always says, you know who your team is by Memorial Day. So who are the Mariners truly? So I had us both write out a couple of takeaways from what we've seen from this team so far, Lyle. What is one of them?
I'll say in response to the text, it's funny. I don't think we do know who this team is yet at the Memorial Day point because we've seen two such drastically different months of offense through the first 2 months of the year. I think we need more time. There are, however, things we can take away by Memorial Day, which are some of the takeaways that we're going to sit here and talk through. I wrote down a couple. Can we just start with Cal Raleigh? Yeah. I think that's the most obvious place to start, but I don't think you can start anywhere else. The guy's third in Fangraphs WAR in all of baseball. He sits behind Aaron Judge, who I don't even have words to describe the season he's put up, and then Pete Crow Armstrong, who's absolutely come into his own through the first 2 months of this year. After that, it is just Cal Raleigh. That's it. He has not just been the best catcher in baseball, he's been one of the best players in baseball, is well on his way to go to Atlanta right now for the All-Star game, and if the season ended today, would be top 5 in MVP voting.
I didn't expect this. I didn't think Cal Raleigh really, truthfully, if I'm going to admit it, had this in him offensively. I didn't think he could possibly be this good as a catcher. It is really hard to be this good as a catcher offensively, to play every single day that he has. By the way, he hasn't missed a game yet. Played in every single game so far, been behind the plate for a majority of them, and has still managed to be incredibly productive offensively. That doesn't really happen that much across baseball. So shout out to Cal Raleigh.
No, it doesn't. And he's doing the whole Salvador Perez thing right now where he's just not missing games. He is in there, in that lineup every day. It's pretty awesome.
My first takeaway, the Dan Wilson effect is real, but I'm not sure it's real enough yet. What do I mean by real enough? I mean noticeably better than the regime he replaced and the results he replaced. The results have been good. The offense that we've watched as a net in the 3 months he has been manager and the new staff has been in here has been a positive. It's hard to argue that it's been anything but a positive. But I'm still unsure 2 months into the season whether or not it's enough yet. So I think that's something we're going to have to wait and see.
So Salk talks a lot about what he phrases as the two Dans. He talks about the Dan Wilson that absolutely has his players bought in and having a lighter clubhouse. We saw a lighter spring training this year when we were around down in Arizona over the end of February, early March or so. You could just see it. You could feel a little bit of a difference, and you can just tell, like, these players are very bought into the new regime and to Dan Wilson, and it seems to be very upbeat, which is great. From everything we heard by the end of last year, felt like there was a little bit of, tense vibes around the team, which is understood. The other side to the Dan Wilson, though, is how does the in-game management affect the team long term? We talked about it a little bit in the 6 a.m. hour. We've talked about it a little bit throughout the year so far about the managing the people aspect of it and then the actual in-game manager aspect of it. Because I think it's fair to say the in-game manager aspect of it has left people scratching their head at times. We did it just yesterday in the finale.
What's your second takeaway?
How about Gabe Speier? Mm-hmm. When you talk about a necessary bullpen arm that is pitched in leverage and a guy that this team could have desperately used last year had he been healthy, man, has it been nice to see him get back to the 2023 Gabe Speier here in 2025. Because in 24, Gabe had an awesome month of April. And then that shoulder injury kind of derailed the rest of his season. Even when he came back, it was just clear that he was not peak Gabe Speier. He was still trying to battle through that. Then he gets the offseason. He clearly comes back in healthy. And man, through the first 2 months of the year, you're talking about a guy with a whip under 1. He's walking nobody. ERA is at 2.25. Strikeout rate is basically at a career high. This is Gabe Speier. Like, this is the 2023 Gabe Speier we saw have a dominant year that might even be better than what we saw 2 years ago.
My second takeaway, thank goodness for the American League West. We can talk all we want about the Mariners' flaws and where there are holes in this roster and around the entire organization. But you look at the rest of the American League West in terms of how the Mariners stack up, even with all those flaws, you still got to feel decently about where the Mariners stack up against everyone else. Yeah, the Mariners lost a series to the Astros over a weekend. I'm sorry. It's a good pitching staff that they have, but I'm not buying that roster. The Rangers have been way underperforming this season, up and down their roster. I don't buy the Angels for a single second. The A's are already back in last place. So tell me, where is there to worry in the American League West?
Do the Astros even have a good rotation, or do they have 2 good pitchers?
That can make people have a good rotation.
I mean, Hunter Brown right now, if the season ended today, would win the Cy Young. So sure, that helps a lot.
No, bullpen has been really good.
Actually, I might have to retract that a little bit on Hunter Brown with the way that Tarek Skubal's throwing the ball recently, or these days, especially yesterday. Point being, Hunter Brown's been one of baseball's best pitchers.
It really helps the Mariners, the fact the West stinks, and that they're not in the same division as the Tigers, and they're not in the same division as the Yankees. The American League itself this year is kind of bad. The American League West especially. There is no elite team in there, and the Mariners just need to be good. They don't need to be great. They just need to be good to win this division.
There's really no American League team that strikes fear into me.
Not even the Tigers now?
Do you buy it long term?
Oh, they've kept winning.
I still don't know if I buy it.
Would you buy the Yankees more?
A little bit. And look, the fact the Tigers got Jack Flaherty back is a nice addition for that rotation. Don't get me wrong. I don't know. I just don't think that roster is quite sound enough to look at them in a postseason, despite having the success that they did last year, and say, yeah, like, that team is going to strike real fear into the eyes of the Mariners. I don't look at those two teams that differently. I got to be honest.
It's not head and shoulders better than the Mariners.
No, it's not like some of these National League teams.
Mariners have lost series to both those teams, but it's not them playing the Dodgers the last handful of seasons.
Right. Or having to go up against the Phillies or having to go up against the Padres or the way the Cubs are playing right now. It's not like that.
No. I'd love to get your thoughts on this subject. I think this will be one of the main subjects of the calls that we come up here and take at 9:30. 866-979-3776. What are your Memorial Day takeaways for the Mariners? I did have one more honorable mention takeaway that I thought I'd throw out there. Based on what I've watched last year and what I've watched this year. The rotation can be great, but they're not going to be the ones to take the Mariners to the postseason. Isn't that kind of weird to say?
Who's going to do it?
The offense. The reason the Mariners will make a postseason run is if they hit well, not if they pitch well. Because the pitching will pitch well no matter what. But as we've noticed, the difference between the good and great of this team is whether or not that lineup can consistently put together runs.
Yeah, I'd throw the bullpen into that too. Say you had one of peak Gabe Spire or healthy Matt Brash last year? Are they in the playoffs?
Yes.
What if you have both of them last year?
Yes.
I think the bullpen plays a real factor here, too. Which is, again, why for as good as this bullpen has been, at least in certain spots, and especially with your three leverage guys in Munoz, Brash, and Spire, bullpens can win you postseason series or lose them for you. Which is why if I'm the Mariners, along with the corner infield needs at the deadline, I would go get at least one more serious leverage bullpen arm.
If not two.
There's no such thing as having too many leverage arms in the postseason.
866-979-3776. Calls coming up in 20 minutes. Want to get your Memorial Day takeaways on the Mariners or what other Mariner topics or Seattle sports topics you want to talk about with us. But coming up next, we'll give you everything you need to know. TJ Mathewson and Lyle Goldstein from the Marine Layer podcast sitting in for Brock and Salk here on Memorial Day on Seattle Sports and the Seattle Sports app.
Wyman and Bob, afternoons 2 to 7.
The Olympics used to be a huge deal. I think it still is. I was listening to Ryan Rowland-Smith talking about playing for your country. I think that that's a big deal in almost any sport except for the NFL.
I don't want any of my starters out there.
Why risk anyone over a fake game of football?
Yeah.
That's what the players who don't make it are for.
Dave Wyman and Bob Stelton, afternoons 2 to 7 on Seattle Sports, the app, YouTube, and your smart speaker.
From whiplash to herniated discs, there are a few car accident injuries we've all heard of. JP Pendergast with Pendergast Law explains that even the most common injuries differ from one another.
Pre-existing conditions, health history, beginning of treatment. There are hundreds of factors that make every person and every injury unique. While these variables aid medical treatment, the strongest case recoveries must also take them into account.
Could you explain a little bit more?
Our team at Pendergast Law is obsessed with turning over every stone to differentiate each case. This requires thorough investigation, diligent listening, and relentless research. We never pursue cases with a one-size-fits-all approach. We built our success by treating every injury and every case with the individualized attention our clients need and deserve.
Pendergast Law's individualized approach to even the most common injuries makes the difference in case outcomes. It's another reason why I can't recommend them enough.
If you or a loved one has been injured in a car accident, call Pendergast Law. We can help.
Feeling lucky? Don't miss the Lucky Classic Collector Car Truck and Boat Auction, Saturday, May 31st at Tacoma's LeMay Marymount Event Center. Hundreds of cars, vintage, muscle, exotic, classics, trucks, boats, and more. Saturday, May 31st at Tacoma's LeMay Marymount Event Center. Millions of dollars in inventory, many must sell with no reserve whatsoever. Get lucky, get local, and get in line for the Northwest's greatest collector car auction. Auction details at luckyoldcar.com.
I'm Ed Evans, CEO of Consumer Cellular. No, we're not one of the big guys. Truth is, we don't want to be. If you're over 50, Big Wireless probably has you paying for more data than you might need. You could be throwing away thousands over a lifetime. We're not here to be the biggest. We're here to bring you something we believe is better. Our plans start at just $20. You'll get the same fast nationwide coverage without the big wireless bill.
Call 1-888-FREEDOM, visit consumercellular.com/facts or a store near you. Plans include $5 credit for auto pay and e-billing. See site for additional facts.
Progressive knows when you own a boat or RV, it's like you're automatically on vacation, even if you're actually a marriage counselor in the middle of couples therapy. But in your mind, you're camping in Acadia, puttering around Frenchman Bay. Your boat and RV are both protected. You're lobster drenched in butter and... Uh-oh. Did your clients just notice you weren't listening? Quick, do the thing where you just repeat back exactly what they said, but as a question. They bought it. Now back to Maine, earning an automatic discount bundling your boat or RV with your home or auto. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company affiliates and other insurers. Not available in all states or situations.
Hey, it's Mike Rohn. If I have a choice, I like to do business with companies that actually stand for something. That's why I switched from Verizon to Pure Talk. No offense to Verizon, I'm sure they stand for something. I just don't know what it is. Pure Talk, on the other hand, is a veteran-owned company that supports our military in a big way, and I appreciate that. Yeah, I also appreciate unlimited talk and text and plenty of data for half the cost of the big guys, and I do like being on America's most dependable 5G network for just $20 a month, but what I really appreciate is no contract, no cancellation fees, and Pure Talk's commitment to handle all their customer service in this country. I saw it for myself. I went to Georgia, I got a tour of their headquarters, I met their CEO, and I talked to the same customer service folks that you'll talk to when you dial pound 250 and say keyword Mike Rowe. Switch today and save 50% off your first month when you dial pound 250 and say keyword Mike Rowe. Pure Talk. a wireless company that actually stands for something.
Subscribe to the Seattle Sports YouTube page to find new and exclusive content from your favorite shows and personalities daily. Just head to YouTube, search Seattle Sports, and click subscribe.
I know you want one of the new top-rated TVs.
And a low price.
We can get a top-rated Samsung, LG, or Sony TV at a better deal than you found on the internet.
No way. Where?
At Video Only. This weekend, they've got special 3-day-only prices on all those top TVs.
Video Only can beat all these deals I've found?
That's right. This weekend, Video Only's got great deals on the best TVs. So let's check them out, or...
We'll be sorry.
Do you have a car sitting around collecting dust? Well, turn that car into cash at Wayscar Ford in Auburn. Not only will they purchase your vehicle today, pay you right up front, but it gets way better. Once they resell your old car, they share 50% of their profit with you. I'm here with my friend Mark Clymer from Wayscar Ford in Auburn. So, Mark, it's been a few years since you started offering this. How's it going? And how much money have you given back to your customers that sold their cars to Wayscar Ford under this program?
It's going great, Stacy. As a matter of fact, we've given back over $750,000 to the customers that have sold their cars to us on our vehicle profit sharing program.
Wow, that's fantastic. Why do you think it's working so well?
Let's face it, it's Thunderdome out there with all the auto theft, the identity theft, and the other scams going on today. Less and less people are comfortable trying to sell their car themselves. So we offer them a way to get a lot more money for their car without having to go through all the hassle of trying to sell it themselves.
And it's only at Wayscar Ford, Isuzu in Auburn. WayscarFord.com.
Celebrate 50 seasons of Seahawks football at Lumen Field and take your game day to the next level with premium hospitality and incredible views. Host a one-of-a-kind event in a private game day suite or get front row access with sideline and end zone field seats. For more on how to elevate your game day at Lumen Field, visit Seahawks.com/premium.
Need to know.
15 minutes past every hour with Brock and Salk.
Here's what you need to know. Up first.
Not a great weekend for the Mariners in Houston. They lose 3 of 4 to the Astros. The division leads down to 1.5 games. The Mariners got a clutch swing on Friday from Cal Raleigh. They gave themselves opportunities on Saturday and Sunday, but couldn't quite push those runs across. They lose 2-1 and 5-3, including this walk-off from none other than Christian Walker yesterday.
Hit deep to left field. Ball game. Christian Walker walks it off, and the Astros win it and take 3 out of 4 from the Seattle Mariners.
Christian Walker, who had gotten off to a really slow start this season, does pain the team that wanted him at some point this offseason. And now he walks them off. The Astros won 3 of 4 again, a game and a half back in the division. Like I said, though, watching that series, it stinks the Mariners lost. I still cannot buy the Astros. I can't do it. I don't believe in that lineup. It looks like Altuve's over the hill, and I don't believe in enough of their talent in that lineup.
Yeah, and to be fair, we didn't see Yordan Alvarez all series because he's on the IL, but even with him there, it's not the same team. Like, you are seriously seeing the effects of this team without Kyle Tucker and without Alex Bregman. It's just not the same roster, especially when you factor in that Altuve doesn't look like the same player anymore, and especially when you factor in that, look, I'm sure he's going to turn it around, but Yordan Alvarez to this point in the year has not been a good hitter.
No, he is not. Mariners back at home against the Nationals. That should be a nice rebound series. The Nationals have not been very good this season. They'll be back in action tomorrow at 6:40 first pitch. Logan Evans versus Mitchell Parker.
Here's the second thing you need to know.
Got some positive and potentially negative, depending on the outcome of how the next couple of weeks, couple of months go for one Bryce Miller, as him and Logan Gilbert threw sim games on Saturday. Each threw about 2 innings, around 50 pitches, working in their off-speed pitches and dialing up their fastballs to around 95 miles an hour. I think the most important thing, Lyle, both of them came out after the fact and said, hey, we feel good. In this short burst, things are working out. We feel healthy. We feel good. Everything is structurally okay.
That is the positive. The other part to this is what Daniel Kramer said in his article over at MLB.com, which is what Bryce Miller talked about with the media after his sim game on Saturday. where he highlighted, look, I think we found the root of the issue for why this elbow inflammation has occurred, but he said if it needs to get cleaned up or anything, it can't just get taken out with him missing the rest of the year. Those were Bryce's words. So the Mariners will either have Bryce Miller pitch through whatever he's battling with through the remainder of the year. Hopefully it doesn't bark on him again, or they'll have to make another decision and proceed with other, avenues for Miller going forward.
I've made a rule of this. If Bryce Miller is pitching exactly like he was before he went on the injured list, I'd rather him get right for 2026. Because the pitcher we saw in April was a bottom 20 starter in Major League Baseball. We know Bryce Miller is much better than a bottom 20 starter.
And those are by the numbers. That's not just like a hypothetical, that's not just like a random number you're throwing out. By the numbers, that's who he's been. And we know Bryce Miller can be one of baseball's really good starting pitchers when he's healthy. I think about a 3-start sample when he gets back from the IL will be pretty telling as to who he can be the rest of the year.
And a big indicator of all this, I think it ultimately comes down to how well does the velocity and stuff hold as he gets late in games. Is he going to have to change because he goes from throwing 96 in the second inning to 92 in the fourth or in the fifth inning, which has been a big issue for him when he was struggling? He would end up trying to pitch the same way with 92 miles an hour. He'd throw it down the middle, and it would get launched into the seats. Luckily for Bryce Miller, he said he's feeling good. He said he's feeling ramped back up. The most important thing with both of them, I will emphasize this again, there is nothing structurally wrong with their elbows. That's the most important thing. If they're structurally wrong, then we're having a whole different discussion. It's not just about missing the rest of this season. We'd be talking well into next season as well.
Here's the third thing you need to know.
A lot of action going on around the NBA and the NHL. The New York Knicks come back down 20 last night to win Game 3 against the Pacers, 106-100. I did feel like there was going to be a big PTSD moment for a lot of Knicks fans everywhere. When the Pacers storm into the Garden, they win the first 2. The Knicks choke away Game 1. Tyrese Halliburton does his double choke. He does his Reggie Miller choke in Game 1, but the Knicks show some heart with Karl Anthony Towns, 24th quarter points. So the Pacers ahead in that series 2-1. Oklahoma City with a 2-1 series lead over Minnesota. Minnesota, though, winning Game 3 just like the Knicks winning Game 3 after losing the first 2 games in Oklahoma City. Minnesota won on Saturday 143-101. Their Game 4 is today in Minnesota at 5:30 Pacific.
Dude, how premeditated was that Tyrese Halliburton choke celebration?
You know he was thinking about it.
I was going to say, when the Pacers start to climb back into that game, while he's supposed to be playing in a Eastern Conference Finals and focused on just winning the ball game, how much of him is sitting there thinking as he's running up and down the court, yeah, if we come back, I'm going to do the Reggie Miller?
It's impossible not to know the fact that Reggie Miller is also sitting there calling his, I believe, last series for TNT with the NBA before their rights expire. And, of course, it's Pacers-Knicks in that moment. And Tyrese Halliburton's like, yeah, I think this kind of works out.
Crazy. I mean, again, this is what needs to happen more in baseball. You know what the NBA does so well? Drama, social media, like discussion, conversations, debates. I mean, it's borderline soap opera stuff that goes on in the NBA. And I think if baseball had more of that, popularity would grow. Could you imagine, throw out a name?
Throw out a name.
You know what? I'll just use a Mariner. Could you imagine Julio hitting a walk-off home run, turning to the Astros bench and giving them the choke sign?
It's a bigger story that Julio is mocking the Astros off the field than his walk-off home run is.
Dude, baseball needs so much more of that.
It needs to manufacture its own drama. It needs to carry its own storylines throughout the offseason in positive, interactive, interpersonal ways throughout the players. I think that's really important. It's making sure the stats don't matter as much and more of the personalities of the players do.
Yeah.
And that's what the NBA does so well. Elsewhere in the NHL, the Kraken still don't have a head coach. 3 of their players, though, Matty Beniers, Mikey Esimont, and Joey Decord, helped Team USA win first place in the Ice Hockey World Championships in Stockholm, Sweden. And the NHL playoffs, the Florida Panthers can clinch their 3rd trip in a row to the Stanley Cup Finals with a win over Carolina. They currently lead that series 3-0. Edmonton on the other side of the bracket leading 2-1.
Oh, and hey, Alex Palou won the Indy 500. So, yeah, that happened.
Did you watch the Indy 500?
Obviously.
Of course you did.
Psych.
That's everything you need to know a quarter past every hour here on the Brock and Salk Show. So we'll tee this up now, 866-979-3776. We posed the question at the top of the hour. I'll pose it going into break here. It's Memorial Day. We've seen 2 months of this Mariners season. I feel like we have a pretty good idea for some things that we've seen so far this season. It can be any number of things. It can be an assertion about the offense. It can be an assertion about the health of this roster. How do you feel about the bullpen going forward? Do you have a trade that the Mariners need to do? Who should the Mariners call up, and who should they play going on later into the season so this team can be its best self heading into the trade deadline and then subsequently hopefully going forward and winning a division here?
Yeah, and how about some of the things we've talked about throughout the morning? Do you have an opinion on what's going on with Jorge Polanco right now? How do they handle that situation? Is he going to bounce back from the month of May he's had? How about what we talked about at 7:30 with Logan Evans and Emerson Hancock? How have you viewed how those guys have helped the team since they've gotten up and had to fill in for some of the injured starters? Or maybe you have other things you want to ask us about, whether it's Seahawks or whether it's just Seattle sports in general. Maybe you just want to make fun of me like everybody on this show does every morning. Look, I'm still sitting here, so I guess it's all fair game if people want to call in and make fun of my lack of cultural knowledge. It's up to you. Phone lines will be open. It's your calls.
866-979-3776. 866-979-3776. Taking your calls next. TJ Mathewson and Lyle Goldstein from the Marine Layer podcast setting in for Brock and Salk here on Memorial Day on Seattle Sports and the Seattle Sports app.
Bump and Stacy, weekdays 10 to 2.
The bar is set a little higher than it used to be. What's been most impressive to me this whole year is just how they've been playing on the road this year. Second most wins in MLB. And you're winning in ways that we did not expect. But Dan has said it. You said it. I heard Jerry say the other day as well. They win in multiple ways. And if you want to be a good baseball team, that's what you have to do.
Bump and Stacy, weekdays 10 to 2 on Seattle Sports, the app, YouTube, and your smart speaker.
Hey, it's Dr. Coogan with Eastside Weight Loss Clinic. Spring is here, and I know you want to look and feel your best as you head into this new season. Are you tired of the roller coaster of losing weight just to see it all come back again? Maybe you've heard about the new drugs but are concerned with the possible side effects, or you're taking weight loss drugs but also want to learn how to change your lifestyle for long-lasting results. We can help you. We have a team of health coaches that can support you every step of the way. Schedule your free 15-minute, no-pressure phone consultation online at eastsideweightlossclinic.com.
Hey, it's Mike Salk here with Ryan Rowland Smith.
Thanks, Mike. I've been hearing for about 2 years now how you did the Eastside Weight Loss Clinic plan, and you lost a ton of weight. So I decided to see what the program was all about, and I'm so glad I did. So far, I've lost 30 pounds, and my only regret is not starting sooner.
Join the thousands of people who've lost 20 to 30 pounds or more in just 60 days. It doesn't matter where you live. You can do our program in person in Kirkland or all remotely. Schedule your free phone consultation online at eastsideweightlossclinic.com. That's eastsideweightlossclinic.com.
Dr. Ryan Coogan, D.C. Results may vary. Friends of Waterfront Park is announcing the Meet Me at Waterfront Park 5K on May 31st, an all-abilities race presented by Brooks Running. 5K registration and full schedule of events at waterfrontparkseattle.org. Brought to you by Friends of Waterfront Park.
Shannon O'Kelly here from IRG Physical and Hand Therapy, and joining me today is Virgil Sweeney from the Northwest Parkinson's Foundation. Virgil, you got a really cool event coming up. Tell us about it.
We do, Shannon. We have our NWPF Walk for Parkinson's at the University of Washington Outdoor Track, Saturday, May 31st at 10 a.m. We invite people to come out and support the local Parkinson's community.
What a great event, Virgil. If you want to register for the event, you can go to nwpf.org. That's nwpf.org.
I'm attorney Rob Iddens, proud Marine Corps veteran and owner of Warrior Injury Law. If you've been injured, you need a lawyer that is tough, confident, and battle-tested. Call us at 253-WARRIOR for your free case review. Warrior Injury Law. Battle-tested.
Progressive knows when you're in your RV, you're already on vacation. That's when you become Vacation You, who just camped where there's absolutely no shade. Even though regular you burns easily. In fact, Vacation You burns too, but is too stubborn to admit it, which is why regular you gets in trouble at the dermatologist, because Vacation You doesn't do doctors. So bundle your RV with your home or auto policy and earn an automatic discount from Progressive. And spend the savings on the both of you. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company affiliates and other insurers. Not available in all states or situations.
You ever try fixing your car and realize you're missing that one part? Yeah, been there. That's why eBay's my go-to. They've got millions of parts, guaranteed to fit. I'm talking brake pads for when yours have seen one too many miles of stop and go. Oil filters, because you don't mess around with your engine care. Even got this cold air intake on my watch list. I might just go for it. To keep the ride cool and your DIY streak hot. Find all the parts you need at prices you'll love. Guaranteed to fit every time. eBay. Things people love. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply.
Bonneville International radio station contests are open to participants 18 years of age or older that are residents of Washington State unless otherwise specified. Employees or agents of the station, Bonneville International Corporation, other area radio stations, or any entity associated with the contests are not eligible to win unless the station otherwise specifies at its own discretion. Persons who have won in the last 60 days from a station contest or event may not be eligible. Full general contest rules are available on seattlesports.com or in person at the station during regular business hours.
4 Down Territory, going inside the game with Michael Bumpus.
I like this. More quarterbacks should start doing this.
Every day at 11:15 and 1:15 on Bumpin' Stacy.
Warmer weather, more sunlight, and your new car. That's right. At Toyota of Kirkland and Toyota of Renton, summer starts here. With their combined inventory of new, used, and certified pre-owned inventory, you're in for a summer to remember. Their fantastic teams will set you up with a test drive so you can ride off into that summer sun the same day. Summer starts here at Toyota of Kirkland and Toyota of Renton. Whether you're in the north or the south, they got you covered. Visit their incredible showrooms today or online at toyotaofkirkland.com and toyotaofrenton.com.
O'Brien. I know you want one of the new top-rated TVs.
And a low price.
We can get a top-rated Samsung, LG, or Sony TV at a better deal than you found on the internet.
No way. Where?
At Video Only. This weekend, they've got special 3-day-only prices on all those top TVs.
Video Only can beat all these deals I've found?
That's right. This weekend, Video Only's got great deals on the best TVs. So let's check them out, or...
We'll be sorry.
Hey folks, John Curley here. One of the best home comfort inventions of recent time, mini split systems. Now you can enjoy efficient heating and cooling while saving energy and reducing utility bills with personalized room comfort. Call my friends at Home Comfort Alliance for a free consultation, and for a limited time, get 18 months same as cash financing on all qualified systems. For all your heating, cooling, plumbing, and electrical needs, call the comfort people. Home Comfort Alliance. Visit homecomfortalliance.com.
I've never had any complaints about my performance in the bedroom. But after turning 40, I noticed my libido just wasn't what it used to be. That's when I reached out to Revive Health. Their team knew exactly what I needed, which is why today, my wife and I are both more satisfied than ever.
If you're ready to book your free T-check, text BOOST to 65555 or visit ReviveMen'sHealth.com to schedule your appointment. Message and data rates may apply. Message frequency varies. Text help for help. Text stop to cancel. See privacy policy at ReviveMen'sHealth.com/privacy for info on how opt-in info will be used and terms and conditions at ReviveMen'sHealth.com/terms of use for terms of short code service.
From the Quantum Fiber Studio.
This is Brock and Salk.
Weekdays 6 to 10.
On Seattle Sports and 97.3 FM HD2.
TJ Matthewson and Lyle Goldstein from the Marine Layer podcast, filling in for Brock and Salk. You know, I'm a little disappointed. It's a holiday. I know people don't have to work today, so surely they can't be busy with anything and should theoretically have more time to call in. I'm a little disappointed with the participation on the phone lines right now. 866-979-3776, taking your Mariners calls to the top of the hour. Again, what I'm honestly asking the listeners. I know you don't have anything else to do today. I know it. There's no meetings. Your boss isn't going to call you. You don't have to drop anyone off at school. No. You have all the time in the world to call in and talk to us. Want to hear your Mariners Memorial Day takeaways, your Mariners thoughts 2 months into the season, 866-979-3776.
And we know people have opinions all over town because, believe me, we hear them all the time. But to be fair, we do have people on the line that want to talk.
We do. Okay, so let's start with Rob in University Place. Rob, what's up? Welcome in.
So my issue is with Locklear. He plays first base for the Tacoma Rainiers.
Mm-hmm.
I go to a lot of Rainier games, and he plays darn good defense. Not as good as Evan White, but really well. It seems like he had a small opportunity when Service was there, but they didn't really give him a chance to play every day. And so he sits in Tacoma with about a 300 batting average, plays good defense, and he's got to watch Solano get trotted out there about, every 2 or 3 days, and Rowley's in front of him. So I just don't understand it. Did he get in trouble when he went up there? Has he got a bad attitude? What's the issue?
Thank you for the call, Rob. Appreciate it. So here's my thoughts on Tyler Locklear at this moment right now. It's not attitude, and I don't think it actually has anything to do with what he did last year. Like what he did last year, he looked like a rookie bat in the big leagues. That's what he kind of looked like. But that's not anything out of the ordinary for a rookie to come up. I think at this point, the Mariners wanted to see more development with his bat at AAA, to see him take that next step forward, to doing what a Cole Young or a Harry Ford is doing right now. And I do think if they thought Tyler Locklear was sitting here and they were ready, and he was ready to come to the big leagues and put up better production, significantly better production than Donovan Solano, because they're not going to call up, Solano has a 300 OPS right now. They're not going to call up Tyler Locklear to have a 500 OPS, for example. But I think if they saw positive things down in AAA that would mean he's going to be an upgrade over Donovan Solano, I truly think right now they would move on from Solano and they'd call Locklear up. I think they would enjoy that scenario right now in terms of making their offense better, but I don't think they think right now that will be the case.
No, and Locklear by the numbers has been slightly below league average overall as a bat in Tacoma, and in a league in the PCL that it's extremely, extremely hitter friendly. Tyler Locklear by WRC Plus has been 1% below league average down in Tacoma. You're right. Tyler Locklear, a guy who can really hit lefties, we know has significant power. We know they liked him when they drafted him in the second round just a couple years ago. I'm sure they'd like to have Tyler Locklear play some role here long term, but he's got to do a little bit more than he's doing right now in Tacoma. And, it goes even beyond just the offensive production, TJ. If you dive into some of the underlying numbers under the hood, he's really still chasing a lot of pitches down in Tacoma. Which is a problem. Right. And if you're going to chase a lot of pitches down in the minors, down in AAA, that's probably also going to translate up to the big leagues, if not even in a bigger sample. So I think they're waiting for Locklear to, one, just put up some more consistent offensive production, tap into his power a little bit more because he hasn't had a ton of it down in Tacoma this year, and also just make some better pitch selections. And
they'd rather him play every day at this point again, which is better for his development. It's the same reasoning for Harry Ford and Cole Young now, where if Tyler Locklear comes up, he's not going to play every day. Like Rob said, he didn't play every day. He got a cup of coffee up here in the big leagues, and he was playing more sporadically, and that can hurt development as you're sitting on the bench and you're waiting for the right opportunity. The higher volume of at-bats you get, the more consistently you see righties and lefties, the more it's going to benefit you as a hitter at the plate. And I think that's what he needs right now. So I don't think the Mariners are in any rush right now to bring up Tyler Locklear to the bigs. 866-979-3776, taking your calls on the Mariners here on this Memorial Day. Let's go to Joseph down in Portland. What's up, Joseph? Good morning.
Morning, gentlemen. Thanks for taking my call.
Of course. Thanks for calling in. What's up?
Well, first off, I stumbled across your guys' podcast during the All-Star Weekend here in Seattle. Been a huge fan ever since.
That's awesome. Thank you.
Thanks so much.
And when Lyle joined my morning show, because my PTSD and anxiety, typically I don't like changes, but I thought that was an awesome addition. So kudos to you for that.
Thanks, Joseph.
And so real quick, my reasoning of calling. I'm actually glad that the caller before me called in because it sort of sparked a little thing. Would want to get your guys' opinion on this right quick. The Jorge Polanco conversation. I caught the tail end of your guys' convo earlier. My question is with his injury this season, I think it's having a massive trickle-down effect on the entire roster construction on a game-to-game basis. At some point in time, do you guys think that the Mariners should just basically bite the bullet, send them down, bring up who they can, so they can start shuffling their bench and their infield the correct way instead of the way it's being done now, which I think is having a massive effect on the overall offense currently?
Well, thanks for the call, Joseph. We really do appreciate it. We appreciate all the nice words. The Polanco situation, look, so he doesn't have minor league options, so he can't just be sent down to Tacoma. I don't think they're going to move on from Jorge Polanco by any means over the course of the season, especially because, again, he was Barry Bonds in April, and the fact that the Mariners are relying on this guy to really be a focal point of the offense, especially after he proved what he can do through the first month. But to answer the question that he originally started with, yeah, that does tie into some of the stuff we talked about at 8:30, that when Jorge Polanco is in a situation where he can only hit left-handed, only DH, is battling through injuries, it does lead to some roster crunch that can often, get a little bit walking the tightrope type.
Puts the stress on the rest of the roster.
Right, because again, you don't want to have to get to a situation where you burn the DH, but by taking Polanco out of games when a lefty comes in, having to put in Garver, burning your backup catcher, and then in the scenario where, heaven forbid, something happens to Cal Raleigh, then you don't have a DH, and it doesn't give your bench as much versatility to run, to move around on defense, to play other positions. Because keep in mind, too, Rowdy Tellez is on the bench pretty often as well. On days where Rowdy Tellez and Jorge Polanco may both be on the bench, that's not exactly screaming versatility late in games. That's saying, okay, we can put you in to come up with a clutch hit, but if we need you guys to do anything more, our bench options are limited.
So the question right now, again, how realistic is it that Jorge Polanco's knee recovers in season? And if that is possible, how are you going to do that? That's what this ultimately ends up being around. Is how are they going to get that knee back? How do you get Jorge Polanco to play back in the field sometimes and hit from both sides? Because that solves more of the issues that they have than they have. Solves the issues they have right now.
I don't know if there's going to be a perfect solution to this all year or not. We talked about at 8:30, could you give him a couple weeks off with an IL stint and then have him come back and see if that fixes anything? But we were both in the camp of, I only think that does so much. I don't know if it fixes it completely. Again, a patellar tendon injury and the surgery had to recover from it. That's no joke.
It might just be like this all season long. And if he can only hit left-handed and only be a DH all season long, then the Mariners will probably need to shuffle the rest of the roster accordingly to accommodate for that, to take the stress off the rest of the roster, because that's going to mean it's going to need a reevaluation of it, and you at least now have a clear idea of what your roster is going to be going forward. 866-979-3776. Let's go to Matt in Redmond. Matt, what's up? Welcome in.
What's going on, guys? Love the podcast. Love following you guys on TikTok. Great information. Great follow. Wanted to chat a little bit about Donovan Solano and Mitch Garver and this team's affinity to really allow players the option, well, not option, I guess, but the ability to try and find themselves almost to a fault. And I'm wondering if that is kind of just how the organization operates now. Is it a money thing? Is it not having anything in the organization that really stands up to that? And kind of what the thought is there and how long the leash is going to be for these players moving forward. I know there's been blips. I know there's been things that have really kind of stuck out from, these little moments, but I'm wondering what you guys think on that.
Thanks for the call, Matt. Yeah, I think it's different for each of these two guys. I think Mitch Garver, it's 100% money related. You can always find another backup catcher within your organization to come up, play once a week, and get pinch hit for 7 innings into his outing, like Cal Raleigh usually does with his backup catchers. Well, that's realistic. Donovan Solano, I think, is more of a case of they don't have an easy replacement within the organization to fill the role he plays. Yeah, he stunk, and eventually they might just move on from him anyways. But as we talked about earlier in the segment with Tyler Locklear, if Tyler Locklear is running out a slash line that's 50% below league average in Tacoma, Donovan Solano's off this roster today. I promise you that right now. That would be the case. But he's not. So it's all right, if we're going to get bad production from our guy who's in AAA right now playing first base and hitting right-handed versus bad production from our guy we're paying $3.5 million to at first base, it's just not totally easy. And then you have to stack on top of the Ryan Roland Smith comments about Donovan Solano's impact in the clubhouse and the role he's taken on and being the veteran leadership of that clubhouse, and just more of the emphasis on that, kind of like the Justin Turner role down the stretch of last season.
Yeah, that all factors in, and some of Solano's at-bats have looked a little bit better over the last 7 games or so. Look, this is a really small sample, but if you want to look at Donovan Solano's last 7 games, he's now running out an OPS over that stretch of about 850. Now, it's a small sample. It's 12 at-bats.
I see you, Donnie.
It's 12 at-bats, but, maybe this is the potential turning of a corner a little bit. I'm not sitting here and saying Donovan Solano is going to be some all-star bat. I'm just saying that maybe he's turning the corner from what has been the first 6 weeks of the season to a point that he can at least be serviceable for the Mariners, whether it's for the rest of the year, for another few weeks, until they have the potential to find another first base option, whether it is the eventual emergence of Tyler Locklear, or like we've talked about it throughout the morning at the trade deadline.
Yeah, exactly. 866-979-3776. Want to hear your thoughts on the Mariners here on Memorial Day, 2 months into the season. There should be plenty to take away. Offensively, pitching staff, bullpen related. You have a smirk on your face.
No, let's just keep going.
You have a smirk on your face.
No,
Yep.
no, I don't.
Nothing coming out?
No.
Okay. We'll go to Aaron in the Couve. Aaron, what's up? Welcome in.
Hey, good morning. I know why he's got that smirk on his face. I got to address something here real quick before we continue on because, I know I don't want to beat a dead horse, but about a month ago or a couple weeks back, Mike Salk made a pretty big deal about you getting thrown under the bus, TJ, because of the whole Aqua Sox debacle in the first pitch. I mean, come on. I got to get your first take on that real quick, man. Just set Lyle aside for now, okay?
Okay. It wasn't good. What can I say? Next time I'll be stepping up on the mound, my leg will be kicking up, and I'm going to be throwing as hard as humanly possible, even if it means throwing out my shoulder. Because I know if I throw another first pitch, it's going to be recorded, and I can't have that debacle again.
No, we cannot. We cannot. No, please don't let your co-host overpower you the second time. But hey, in all fairness, happy Memorial Day, and I just want to comment real quick. I happened to glance at ESPN.com this morning. They decided to put out it's not a midseason report, but it's a Memorial Day MLB ranking. And while the Mariners do rank high, of course, for the AL West, they still I don't know, call it East Coast bias, but they still do not see them going deep into the playoffs, even with their, stellar pitching. And I want to know, like, are we still getting the snub from the East Coast bias type of articles that come out like that? Or is it just because, plain and simple, we're just not going to be able to stand up to other teams in the AL?
I think both can be true, and that's kind of a nonchalant answer. Thank you for the call, Aaron. Appreciate it. I don't think the Mariners have really earned any sort of bias towards to just assume they're going to do well at this point. But also, I think the Mariners are good. To say good enough to confidently say they're going to go deep into the playoffs is a totally different story.
Right.
For me.
And again, I know that the American League for the most part this year is not all that great, but when you look at the power rankings of teams in baseball, there's so many teams in the National League that have been so good that, look, the Mariners have had a really good start to the season. I think in a lot of people's minds, they've been better than what was expected, even with the month of May offensively that's been a little bit different than the month of April. I think the Mariners are about in the right spot for how people view them. Again, good start to the year. They're leading the West. They could win the West, but when you talk about going up and stacking up against other teams in Major League Baseball, I just don't know if they're quite in that spot.
And I don't think also in May that you can sit here and try and predict playoff success in the future, because the playoffs in Major League Baseball are so random that to confidently say, yeah, in a 5-game series, the Mariners are going to beat the Yankees in a series. Like, who knows? What are the pitching matchups? How healthy is everybody?
Yeah, look at the run the Tigers just had last year in the playoffs.
I didn't think they were going to beat the Astros. No way.
Right.
Yeah, I didn't think they were good enough to be doing that at all. 866-979-3776. We'll go to Sean in Tacoma. Sean, what's up? Welcome in.
Hey, my question is what was Dan Wilson's thinking when keeping Castillo in the sixth inning with the way he was pitching all the way up to 115 pitches, and then also bringing in Legumina in the ninth on a tie game, and still having Spire and Munoz available? What was Dan Wilson thinking?
That's a good question. Thank you for the call, Sean. Lau and I had this same exact question about the sixth inning. The Mariners don't let their pitchers throw 114 pitches anymore. They really haven't done it at all. Guys barely get over 100 pitches at that point. So it was kind of strange, especially given the day before the Mariners threw 2 arms. That's it. 2 arms the entire game. It was Brian Wu and Casey Legumina that covered the entire game. So you'd think, all right, some guys are rested enough to get that you could be a little bit more aggressive with Luis Castillo and get him out of the game early. And Dan, the weekend before, had showed I'm willing to be a little bit aggressive and get a starter out of a game and get Gabe Spire specifically in a leverage situation with the lead to hold it down and let your bullpen really take advantage as a strength. But then he sort of changed it and did something different on Sunday with Luis Castillo, and I thought it was strange. Luis Castillo's stuff was better on his start. He threw pretty hard, but I didn't think it was good enough to leave him out there for 114 pitches, which is the second most pitches he's ever thrown as a Mariner. And it's not a start where he's working into the 8th inning and throwing 114 pitches. No, it's the 6th inning. That part doesn't make as much sense to me.
I'm more looking at the bullpen usage after Castillo because, yeah, that was a lot of pitches he threw on Sunday, and getting up to 115 was a lot. Now, they do have an off day built in, and maybe that'll help Luis for his next start, and maybe they throw him on a little bit of a shorter pitch count his next start. But the question about Legumina, yeah, it was interesting, right? So we talked through this a little bit in the 6 o'clock hour. I'll go through this again because I think the 3 questions we had about what happened after Castillo was removed from the game were why Gabe Spire wasn't used, why Matt Brash didn't go back out there, and why it was Legumina in the 9th. Now, the Matt Brash thing, I think I understand, and if I were to try to put myself in the shoes of the Mariners, I would guess they would say that despite only throwing 10 pitches, Matt Brash is still not far removed from his return from Tommy John surgery. He's not throwing on back-to-back days, and the idea of getting him up and getting him hot, getting him in the game, having him sit down, and then get back up and hot again, maybe is a lot to ask of him at this point, and maybe that's too much to put on him this early into the year. But the other side of it is Legumina versus Gabe Spire. That part had me scratch my head a bit because Legumina had just thrown 2 innings the night before. Speaking of getting up and down and then up again, Gabe Spire has been better against lefties than righties. Don't get me wrong. Gabe Spire has dominated lefties, but he's still been one of your 3 best leverage relievers this year. And to not use him in the 9th when he hadn't pitched since Thursday in mop-up duty, that one made me scratch my head.
360 says Dan probably thought it would go to extras and wanted his better relievers to work with runner on base. So that's fair, but you do need to get the game 2 extras first. The outs, I think, in front of you are always the most important ones rather than the outs 3 outs away from now, especially when you're thinking about extras because their extra innings are not guaranteed in any sense.
No, and then when Legumina comes in the 9th inning, and this is with all the respect in the world to Casey Legumina, who's been awesome for the Mariners this year, genuinely awesome. But in that start in that outing after throwing 2 innings the night prior, Jose Altuve gets on, and then Christian Walker hits a bomb to walk it off, which only furthers the thinking of, well, what if it had been Spire?
I mean, that's a good question. Here's a good question for you, Lyle. I think you could answer this, having worked on the show for this long. Has Mike Salk been an old man since he was 7?
I haven't been around Mike Salk since he was 7. I guess it's possible.
Since it's 7, but you have for, 7+ months now. So
you're getting close to 10 months.
Do you think that's accurate?
Larry Salk's a regular character of the show, Salk's dad. Maybe he can call in and answer that question the next time he's on. Has Salk been an old man since he was 7 years old? I wonder, you might have to elaborate on what you mean by old man. Does he mean, because honestly, Salk doesn't have crazy boomer takes. Salk's not a big bunt the ball type guy or a big only use your relievers in one situation type guy. Salk's a big homers and walks guy.
Yeah.
So you might have to elaborate on what exactly.
Not from his sports perspective, maybe from his cultural perspective.
I see.
And his taste in music and movies and what him and Brock give you such a hard time about.
Sure. All right, I think we've got time for one more call. Looks like there's one coming in from the Tri-Cities if you want to get to that one.
All right, let's get to that one. Rick in Pasco has a question about the Mariners farm. Rick, what's up?
Yeah, hey, guys. Glad to hear you on the radio. I'm really a fan of you guys, and I subscribe to your YouTube stuff.
Oh, thanks so much.
Awesome. Thank you, Rick.
You bet. And, by the way, I have great sympathy for you when you're with Brock and Salt. During the week because they are completely morons to you. That's the best way I can describe it. And I'm a 67-year-old man, and I think that.
Wow, so. I might have to clip that one.
That's so refreshing to hear.
Okay, so what I wanted to first bring up was something about Donovan Solano. You're talking about, he's starting to hit better. There's 2 major problems he has, even if he does hit better. First of all, it's for no power. Second of all, he has no range and no speed. And many times in the last week and a half, when he's been getting on, he's not been able to take the bases that are available, like going first to third or anything like that. And that just continues to wear down on our ability to produce runs with those kinds of hits. So that's one thing.
Yeah, I definitely agree on that.
Second thing that I can't say loud enough, and nobody's saying it, but I have been a Mariners fan since 1977. I went to the first 11 home openers, and I had partial season tickets for a lot of the years. In all of that, I have seen us trade away so many wonderful prospects, and almost none of them have ever worked out. And I have the blessing of being able to live in Tri-Cities, and I had tickets to every single one of the Aqua Sox games here early in the year, and I have all the rest of them when they come back in July. And I can simply tell you this, and I went down to spring training this year as well. We have some studs. And if we sit here and try and trade them, because nobody ever gives Seattle value for any of our prospects. This isn't a case where it's like Noel V. Marte, and we traded him away. Granted, he was a top prospect, but I watched him play.
All right, really quick, Rick, and then we got to start to wrap it up and end the show. So final thought.
Okay, very good. So I'll just tie it up. Please don't trade any of those folks. I want to see them come up. I want to see the Mariners win for years. If they don't win big this year, I don't have a problem, because they're going to start hitting the major leagues next year and the year after.
Okay.
And we're going to see a completely different organization. Thank you.
Thanks, Rick.
Thanks for the call, Rick.
We really appreciate it. Well, I think he makes an interesting point if you want to look at the prospects and trading prospects away, just in the sense of like sometimes you have to trade prospects to get proven talent.
Yeah, sometimes you got to do that, and it makes sense. So it sounds like Rick is among the doesn't want to trade prospects. I'm a trade prospect guy, especially for how I look at it this season. But Rick views it from a different perspective. This has been fun, but I always appreciate getting to fill in. You're here every day. I'm not, so this is always a bunch of fun.
Always a blast. Thanks to all you guys who called in, who interacted with us throughout the show, who follow along with the podcast every day. You guys are the best.
Rock and Talk will be back tomorrow at 6 a.m. Lyle, until then, the hay
barn.
See you, everybody.
Get to the chopper!
Bump and Stacy, weekdays 10 to 2.
The bar is set a little higher than it used to be. What's been most impressive to me this whole year is just how they've been playing on the road this year. Second most wins in MLB. And you're winning in ways that we did not expect. But Dan has said it. You said it. I heard Jerry say it the other day as well. They win in multiple ways. And if you want to be a good baseball team, that's what you have to do.
Bump and Stacy, weekdays 10 to 2 on Seattle Sports, the app, YouTube, and your smart speaker.
Emerald Queen Casino Event Center presents the main event. Powered by WFC, Saturday night, June 14th. A night of professional boxing where champions are made and every punch counts. Contenders from the region go toe-to-toe, ready to prove they belong at the top. Tickets at emeraldqueen.com. Don't miss Fight Night, June 14th at Emerald Queen Casino, the boxing capital of the Northwest. 21 and older, need gambling help? Call 800-547-6133 or visit emeraldqueen.com.
I know you want one of the new top-rated TVs.
And a low price.
We can get a top-rated Samsung, LG, or Sony TV at a better deal than you found on the internet.
No way. Where?
At Video Only. This weekend, they've got special 3-day-only prices on all those top TVs.
Video Only can beat all these deals I've found?
That's right. This weekend, Video Only's got great deals on the best TVs. So let's check them out, or
we'll be sorry.
Hey, friends. It's Stacy with a little bit of inside info. I know there are a lot of local business owners listening right now. This message is for you. Wayscar Ford is running great pricing on all of their commercial vehicles, trucks, Super Duties, Isuzu FTRs, box trucks. The bigger, the better, and they have a ton of them. New and used models and a ton of 2025 models. I'm on their website right now. Here's one, $11,000 off. Another for $19,000 off. Wayscar Ford just expanded their heavy truck shop, and there are a ton of opportunities. They're looking for mechanics if anyone listening has heavy truck experience. Join a wonderful company at a dealership that's been in Auburn for 103 years. Take advantage of the amazing inventory million deals they have right now. Commercial sales and service for both Ford and Isuzu. A great option for people, a great option for families, and now business owners. I'm a proud customer. I know you will be too. Wayscar Ford, Isuzu, and Auburn. WayscarFord.com. That's WayscarFord.com.
Watching Clorox cleanup spray dissolve tough grime in the shower feels like...
Wait, this really just happened? I'm shocked. Underwear and everything?
It feels like being able to zip up your overpacked suitcase on the first try.
Smooth.
With Clorox, clean feels satisfying. Clean feels good. Use as directed.
How did Babbel become the award-winning language learning app? We thought of you. All of you. Take Sierra. As a visual learner, she uses Babbel's wordplay videos.
Today I'll share a quick lesson on shopping in French.
Merci beaucoup. Malcolm is a listening learner. So he checks with Babbel's speech recognition to be...
Precio.
However you learn, Babbel makes it easy. Save up to 50% on your Babbel subscription at Babbel.com. That's BABBEL.com.
An Australian hiker travels to the American West to walk a wilderness trail.
Wasn't afraid to be out on his own.
But Eric Robinson vanished in the high Uinta Mountains.
I remember thinking, Eric, what were you thinking, mate?
I'm Dave Cawley. Join me on my podcast, Uinta Triangle, where I travel the world to answer the question, what happened to Eric Robinson? Follow Uinta Triangle. That's UINTA Triangle on Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen.
Headed to the ballpark? Skip the traffic jams, parking fees, and the stress of driving. Make riding transit part of your game day ritual. Roll in with your crew, talk stats, and meet fans. No traffic, no stress. Community Transit riders enjoy seamless connections to light rail and ferries to get to Seattle and beyond. And youth 18 and under ride the bus for free. All in for the win. Plan your trip with Community Transit at ctgo.org/homerun.
Need assistance with door and window projects? The Home Depot can help. From inspiration and materials to ordering and installation, our free Millwork virtual apron service can get you moving and doing. Plus, we speak Spanish too. Our associates can help you tackle complex jobs without you leaving the job site, saving you time and money. Call us at 1-833-HD-APRON or visit homedepot.com/MVA. The Home Depot, how doers get more done.
Evan Cohen here. It's time to turn things up a notch. This summer, don't binge watch shows. Binge s'mores by the campfire. Press pause on the podcast and press play on the warm weather vibes. Here's your chance to win $10,000 for your ultimate summer. What are you waiting for? Take your shot with 5-Hour Energy and make this summer your best summer ever. Visit 5heshot.com for full details and rules and to enter today. No purchase necessary. Ends June 30th, 2025.
Let's go! This is Seattle Sports.
Streaming through the Seattle Sports app.
KIRO AM Seattle. KIRO FM HD2 Tacoma.